In today's video, I have 100 days to conquer Ragnarok and take down Nunatak, but I have zero control over what creatures I'm allowed to tame. Instead, a spin wheel will be deciding what creatures make up my team, and to make matters worse, I'm only allowed to tame one of each creature that I spin. And if the creature should die, I'm not allowed to replace it. Now, this challenge is lightly inspired by the Pokemon Nuzlocke challenges, so I also decided to use the Shiny Dino mod to simulate shiny Pokemon. So can I navigate the spin wheel to build an army capable of slaying the boss, or will the spin wheel torture me into submission? Let's find out. First things first, I need to create my character. And then before getting started on my journey, I had to first spin the wheel to see what would be the first creature I had to tame. And let's see what it gives us. Something easy to tame, but also good, please? You gotta be flipping kidding me, dude. No freaking way. All right, well, I mean, that's our first tame of the playthrough. It couldn't happen any other way. With that decided, I spawned into Jungle Zone 2, my go-to spot to spawn on Ragnarok, and I immediately began gathering stones and punching trees until I had enough materials to craft my first stone pickaxe. With that pickaxe, I began breaking boxes on the beach, and almost instantly, I was rewarded with a metal hatchet and a pike. A few boxes later, I found myself a crossbow, and I stayed breaking boxes for a little while longer to stock up on tools and arrows. Once I had about as much gear as I could carry, I took out a nearby wandering parasaur for its hide, which after gathering a little bit more fiber, I would put to good use, making myself a full set of cloth armor. So now with tools in hand and some basic scraps covering my luscious figure, I began making my way towards the nearby rivers where I knew otters could spawn. And sure enough, right at the mouth of the river was an otter.
Oh, there's an otter right there! Ha ha! Hello, you piece of crap. You are my first tame, a level 85 male otter.
Of course, to tame it, I first had to hunt down some fish to hand feed it, and after some swimming around, I finally found a coelacanth that I would make short work of, and begin dragging it back to my soon-to-be otter companion, only to then spot a saber-toothed salmon, which works even better. The only problem was I drastically miscounted how many salmon were actually hiding in these waters.
Oh crap. Oh gosh. Oh, there's so many of them. I'm gonna die to drowning.
Get off of me! Oh my gosh. This has gone very bad very quickly. Thankfully, I managed to fend off an embarrassing first death, at least for the time being, and returned to the otter to offer it its first feed, which got it almost halfway tame. And not wanting to swim all the way back to where I'd ended the salmon population, I took out a nearby coelacanth instead, but night was setting in, the water was growing cold, and I was beginning to freeze to death. I'm a little cold, but as soon as I get this otter, my insulation issues are gone. I made it back to the otter with just a sliver of health left, only to find that the fish would not get the job done, leaving me to retreat to dry land to begin recovering some health. Thankfully, I would survive just long enough into the next morning to begin gathering some materials I needed to craft myself a campfire, placing it down and getting some meat cooking. But it wouldn't take but seconds for the fire to attract an unwelcomed pest. Oh, you got killed by a freaking pego! Oh my gosh! All of that just to get killed by a pego! A pego! By the time I returned from my gear, the pego had scurried off, and looking at my lifeless corpse, I figured there was no reason to let the perfectly chiseled body go to waste. So I chopped it up and threw my meat onto the fire. From there, it was back into the water where I would take out a few more saber-toothed salmon, which I would feed to the otter, turning my longtime foe into my first friend of this playthrough. He would be named Mr. Scarf. So with the otter tamed, I could now spin the wheel again for my next creature. Let's go ahead and find out what we get. Remember, otter is off the wheel now. Our second creature is a spider. A spider, which is literally going to get a TLC soon. Okay. This one was going to take some preparations. First, I would need to craft some ghillie armor, which meant I needed to head towards Viking Bay, where the organic polymer cave is located. On the way, I ran into a small flock of rat birds. Hey, hold that for me, pal. Get him, otter. Get him, otter. And after taking them out, I gained a few levels, which got me high enough to unlock the raft engram. So I gathered the mats I needed for crafting one, and just like that, Mr. Scarf and me were setting sail on the SS Dorito. It wouldn't take long before we reached the cave, but I still needed a few more levels before I could even make the armor. And so I went on a short hunting trip around the bay to try grinding them out. But after taking out a few dillos, I ultimately decided to just gather a bunch of stone and started smashing together some cooking pots for easy leveling. The first 6 still left me a few levels short, so it was back to farming stone, and before long I had another 6 crafting, which again left me just a small chunk of experience short of reaching level 33. But before finishing with that, there was a green drop across the bay, and knowing it could have something useful in it, I had to go for it. And sure enough, it had something that might come in clutch. Oh, Citronal! And a torch. That's actually so awkwardly huge because we can use, like, I can get carrots. I don't know if I can get citronal on the map, but I can get carrots on the map. So if I have to get bug spray, like if the ghillie doesn't work, we now have citronal to make bug spray with. So I crafted a preserving bin I'll need for storing them, which also got me to level 33, meaning I could unlock the ghillie armor. Next, I made a mortar and pestle to place down on my raft, which I used to make a pile of spark powder to throw in the preserving bin to keep my new fruit nice and fresh. Technically, I could now move on to making the ghillie, but I decided to first gather some more hide for a few more upgrades. Starting with the forge, which I immediately loaded up with any metal I had gathered to this point, followed by a bed just in case I should run into any more pegos. While the metal cooked, I took a risky little trip up a hillside to retrieve a blue drop that had just landed, and it had another weirdly clutch find in it. Oh, that's actually another thing that I need for making bug spray. Okay, I think you can use wool. It's pelt fur. I think you can use wool for it too. I'll have to check, but if you can, that's actually clutch. On the way back down, I stopped by a small cluster of metal rocks to gather just a tiny bit more, and once back at the raft, I threw down a large storage box to store the little bit of loot I had accumulated. By this point, the metal had finished cooking, so I used it to craft a smithy, and then used the smithy to craft myself a metal pickaxe. And with the new improved tool, I returned to that cluster of metal rocks to properly harvest them, and threw it all in the forge. While waiting on that to cook to make one last tool, I took a little dive into the bay to go after some oil I'll be needing soon, and things took a bit of a turn.
Oh my gosh! I didn't even see it. I literally checked. Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
Oh my gosh, we're surfaced. Where's our flipping raft? Oh, he's gonna leave me alone because I'm near the rock. Oh my gosh, he's gonna leave me alone because I'm near the rock. Okay, well that was closer than it needed to be. Holy crap, we're almost dead. We would have lost our otter. That would have been tragic. Of course, I was not about to let that offense go unpunished.
You wanted this fight, you're gonna get it, pal. I'm getting more oil. Or I'm not an American.
That's what you get! With the shark gone, I dove back down for more oil, but when a red glow appeared on my character, I got a bit scared and swam back up in a panic. I still got a decent amount though, so I turned my attention to gathering more hide by tying up a pelagornis with a bola and taking it out. With that hide and the metal that had finished cooking, I could now make a sickle, and it was time to enter the cave behind the waterfall to harvest the organic polymer plants till my pants were full of sticky goo. There we go, that's what we were looking for. Oh, in the bunches too. In the bunches. Using the goo combined with some hide and fiber, I crafted my full ghillie armor set, and it was off to a cave where I knew I could find some spiders. Of course, before setting off up the hill towards the cave, I made sure to craft some bolas and extra arrows, just in case I should run into anything looking for an easy snack. But I didn't actually know how to reach this cave on foot, as I'm used to just flying up to it. So I had to get a bit creative using some well-placed thatched scaffolding to help me scale the hillside, which admittedly took a very long time. After one failed jump, I put down a little bit more thatch to give me a better shot, and finally I had arrived at the entrance of the cave. Heck yeah, brother, we did it. We're at the entrance of the cave. There it is, we made it. Of course, I put down a sleeping bag just outside the cave in case things go terribly wrong, and then slipped into my ghillie armor to begin the hunt for a spider. But as I entered the cave, I found it oddly empty of not only spiders, but threats in general. I did, however, find a blue cave drop that I would grab quickly without checking, but after further inspection, it gave me a saddle that might be clutch in the long run. Got a chitin helmet blueprint. I got a galley saddle and the Megatherium one. That's actually huge. With that little reward in my pocket, I kept searching, and soon enough, I found the spiders I'd come looking for. They were just stuck in the mesh. Eventually, though, one either spawned out of the mesh or worked its way out, and I began approaching it slowly, only to find that the ghillie armor might not be enough. The spider aggroed to me almost instantly, and I was left to retreat out of the cave, jumping off the cliff like a madman to parachute down to my raft and begin making the long journey to the highlands. On my way to the highlands though, my path became blocked by a string of metal nodes that were just crying out for me to harvest them. And as I resurfaced from doing so, I spotted a very blue pelagornis nearby that I had to go investigate. That does not look like a normal... Is that what a shiny is? Oh, it is definitely a shiny. It's sparkling. That is definitely a shiny. It is smuggling. How do I tame it? How do I tame this thing? Oh my gosh, land on my raft. Yes, I did it. Oh, I don't have trank arrows. I've not made trank arrows yet. Okay, so I quickly made up what narcotics I could, but having no idea what it would take to knock out a shiny, I had to return to hand-picking berries so that I could craft up just a few more narcotics that I would then turn into trank arrows. I didn't have much, but I couldn't be asked to keep picking more berries, so I took my chances and began patiently waiting for her to once again come down to sea. Oh, he's coming down, Oh, we gotta get there, we gotta scoop him. No, we're not gonna make it in time. We're not gonna make it in time, he's gonna get on the water. Oh, wait. Okay, hit him with the bola. Okay, now we knock him out. Or her, sorry, ma'am. Oh, she's already bloody. Oh, she's down! We did it! Oh my gosh, we did it! This will be a game changer! A Caribbean Pelagornis, level 155. Okay, I think they eat fish, only fish. With her sleeping on the raft, I dove back into the water and began hunting down nearby fish for their meat, as well as a stalk of seaweed that to the easily confused like myself appeared to be a fish.
Coming after this fishy. Doesn't even know I'm coming after it.
Because it's not a fish, it's seaweed. But as I began swimming back to the Pelagornis, I couldn't help but doubt if the time it would take to tame her would really be worth it. I think this thing is going to be more than we can handle right now. Their torpor drops, from what I remember, their torpor drops very quickly, and it's going to take like an hour plus to tame this thing. In the end, I figured having a flyer was worth the trouble, and so I spent the rest of the night hand-picking narco berries I'll need for keeping her under. As the next day began, I fed her a small bundle of berries just to keep her asleep for the moment, and it was back into the water to hunt down a few more fish, as she didn't quite have enough to finish the tame. But unfortunately, the fish must have heard me coming because there was none to be found.
Dude, there's like no fish in this area. Like, I can't find, other than those two I killed, there's just no fish. I still need fish.
That is, until a dirty rat bird swooped down and grabbed one right in front of my face. Oh, you bum! No! Yeah, suck on that, punk. So, knowing I would need to travel further to find some, I fed the bird every narco berry I had gathered and continued searching the waters closer and closer to Viking Bay until I spotted a Dinotherium on the beach that would surely trample both me and Mr. Scarf if I got too close. Thankfully, as I continued searching nearby waters, I spotted a manta ray which also gives fish meat when harvested. I just first had to take the bastard out.
Let's do it, buddy. Let's do it. Yeah! Come on, give
fish meat.
Yeah, get fish meat.
So with my pockets smelling like a truck stop strip club, I returned to the Pelagornis and slipped us some meat from the safety of the waters, as a flock of Argents were now circling the area, just waiting for my poor bird to finish taming. While the taming went, I dove down into the water to harvest some wood sitting at the bottom of the ocean, threw that in the forge to get my metal production back in business, and then swam back down to harvest the metal rocks that were down here as well. Before long, I had a decent stock of metal cooking, and soon after checking that, the Pelagornis finished taming. And there we go, a shiny Caribbean Pelagornis has been tamed. But like most flyers, it needs chitin for crafting its saddle, and I have a measly 10 to my name right now. So I had no other option but to continue my journey to the highlands via boat, with my new shiny bird in tow. But then, as I neared closer to the highlands, I spotted a Bassie corpse on the beach, and knowing it was a good source of oil, I jumped off my raft to harvest it, only to be greeted by a pleasant surprise. Oh, this gives keratin. Oh my gosh, which one's better? Oh my gosh, this gives keratin? I didn't know it gave keratin. Dude, please get me to 75. That would be amazing. A little further up the beach, I found another corpse tucked behind some rocks, and just like that, I had more than enough keratin to make the saddle. I was just 20 hide short. Thankfully, a nearby raptor would make for an easy enough kill, and harvesting it would give me enough hide to craft the Pelagornis saddle. And just like that, we were airborne. Now, being carried by the wings of my beautiful blue bird, I arrived at a little farm in the highlands where someone had long ago planted some carrots that were the last ingredient I needed for making bug repellent. Once I had enough, I headed back towards my raft, but first I stopped off at another waterfall cave, this time for some crystal. Of course, my pick would break just as I began harvesting, but I still got a small little batch to get me started with crafting a spyglass. Next, I crafted the bug repellent I would need to tame the spider and began my journey back towards the cave where I knew I could find them. First, though, I decided to stop off and name my bird Sapphire. And as I was naming the bird, I remembered the spiders could actually spawn around the sides of the nearby volcano, so I began scanning the area in hopes of finding one. While I searched, I also picked off a lonely titanoboa using Sapphire and put its hide to good use, crafting 2 cryopods for my tames. Then, just as the night was ending, I began heading for a purple ring drop when I spotted something I thought was a spider. Dung beetle, you had me. I thought you were a frickin'... Wait, that's not right. Is that a scorpion? Oh, there's one right there, a spider, yes! So with the spider in sight, I slipped on the ghillie armor, sprayed myself down with the sweet scent of bug repellent, and began the tame. For the most part, things went smoothly. The spider would aggro me one time, but it actually worked out as it allowed me to lure it further away from the pyromane that was waiting down the hill. And after some perseverance, the spider was tamed. Got it. Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. With it done, I went back for the purple ring drop I had spotted earlier, only to have that one thing that seems to happen in all of my 100 days videos happen yet again. Every mother time. This cannot keep happening to me. But instead of dwelling on it, I found a safe spot to get my spider back out of its cryo and named her Gwen. And with Gwen tamed, I could spin the wheel again. We could always use something better. What can we get here? Hilarious, a dodo bird. Okay, well, hey, at least it's easy. We'll get it, and we'll get it out of the way. All right. Thankfully, a dodo bird would be very easy to find and even easier to knock out. However, keeping it alive from a nearby origin would prove to be much harder. Oh my gosh, this dude's gonna definitely attack. Why is he not attacking me? There he is. I gotta draw him up in the sky away from my dodo bird. No, don't attack my dodo bird. No, leave my dodo bird alone. You jerk. All right, well, we still tamed it. We don't have to keep him alive. They don't have to survive. It still got tamed. Regardless, though, the tame was done, which meant I could spin the wheel again. Oh, please. Oh. Okay, well, I know where they are. They're not that hard to find. They're, like, right over here. Really was hoping we were about to get Ankylosaurus. That would have been nice. That would have been real nice to get our metal gatherer, to also get a berry gatherer in the process to really kind of, you know, help out with these future tames, but instead, we are taming a lizard. On my way back to the volcano region where I knew I could find Megalania, I stopped to grab another purple ring drop that had come down, but it wasn't exactly the home run I was hoping for. On the bright side, my search for a Megalania would be a quick one, as a level 50 was roaming the volcanic beaches. But as another fast-draining torpor tame, I was going to need to do some prep work before taming it. It was back to business, and by business, I mean once again picking narcoberries by hand. For now, though, it was very picky until my fingers were raw and my left mouse button was begging me for mercy. Once I had enough, I crafted some more narcotics and turned those into more trank arrows. But before I could return for taming the lizard, I first needed to secure some prime meat in the form of a baby Arjun whose mother apparently could not care less about the safety and welfare of her child. Get out of here! Get out of here, Sapphire! We gotta leave! We gotta leave! Too late, mama. With it secured, I stored the meat in my preserving bin to keep it fresh for my soon-to-be lizard and returned to the level 50 to begin knocking it out, if I could just find somewhere safe to do so. Eventually, I parked my butt atop a rock and began firing my arrows, only to have the lizard bite me straight through said rock, giving me a nasty case of the mega herpes. Thankfully, I have enough health to shrug it off like a common cold, and I was back to the task of trying to find somewhere private to get to know my lizard. There's just so... That's the one I want right there. There's just so many of them. Look at this. Just everywhere, and I need to get it to like that beach over there where I can maybe knock it out without its friends joining it, but my gosh, how do I lure it away? But with so many extras hanging around, I had no choice but to try taking some of them out, and once again, I found myself riddled with the disease. I survived it once more, but at this point, I needed to make more narcotics, which would mean I would have to get more narcoberries for keeping the lizard under. But that is a problem for the future because I first needed to actually knock it out, which was proving to be much harder than I had originally thought. Eventually, I had sunk every single arrow I was carrying into its thick, leathery hide, and still, the beast was standing strong, as I'm pretty sure its torpor was draining faster than I was putting arrows into it. So, knowing I was going to have to redo all the prep work, I first headed for an incoming yellow drop instead, and unfortunately, the drop was mostly useless, which meant it was back to my favorite task of hand-picking berries. Once I had enough, I started gathering some wood and stone, and began crafting some stone structures for a simple ramp trap to make taming one of these things much easier. I headed back for my raft, and on the way, I stopped at another purple drop, and this one at least had a decent saddle in it. Grab what we can get. Oh, there was an ascendant saddle in there. There was an ascendant saddle in there, baby. I don't know what it was. It looked like maybe a dire bear. Dire bear saddle. Okay. Okay, if we get a dire bear, there you go. We got an ascendant saddle for it. We got some kaolin soup. Once back aboard, I crafted more narcotics once again, and while waiting on those, I upgraded my armor to flak as I had just hit the level for it. When the narcotics finished, it was back out to search for my lizard, but unfortunately, it was nowhere to be found. Still, I laid out the trap anyways and lured another level 50 into it instead, figuring since they were the same level, it would be an acceptable replacement. All right, there. Oh, no, not you. No. Oh, okay, thank goodness. Oh, that was almost so bad. I almost accidentally trapped two of them. That would have been not what I was trying to do, Before I could tame it though, I needed more prime meat as the complete failure of the first lizard took so long that my original stock had spoiled. Luckily, a baby lystro on Bison Island would make for the perfect replacement. When I returned to the trapped lizard though, its friend was still hanging around and I knew I'd have to lure it away before starting the knockout. Oh, we're out of stamina. Oh my gosh. And it's a 150. Oh my gosh. Alright, it's not really doing much damage. Thankfully, they're so weak. So with the other lizard now off in the distance, I returned to begin loading mine up with arrows until eventually it fell to the ground. I gave it the prime meat from the lystro baby, and once it took its first bite and had lost enough torpor, I loaded up with enough narcoberries to keep it under and headed for a yellow drop that was waiting up the volcano. Inside the drop was some decent fur armor, an Anki saddle, and some gasoline. Not long after that, the Megalania would finish taming, and I named him Dr. Connors. And with that, it was time to spin the wheel for my next tame. For the love of God, can I get a berry gatherer? Oh my gosh, stop. Yes, thank you, Jesus. A flippin' parasaur, I'll take it. I don't even care if I'll take it. It's a parasaur, I love it. Finally, we'll have something that can gather berries for us. This is what this is our 5th tame, so not too terrible. It only took us 5 spins to get something that can gather berries, which is pretty essential to doing any kind of taming, but hey, we got it. In my excitement to finally have a berry gathering tame, I completely forgot a yellow drop that I had spotted coming down nearby, and so I began flying back to grab it. It was a bit risky with pyromanes lurking all around the area, but the drop did provide some nice black armor. Back on the taming hunt, I would quickly spot a parasaur as I was approaching the island, and it was even a decent level. So I hit it with a bola, knocked it out, and fed it a small stock of measure berries to begin the tame. And while waiting, I headed over to a nearby lake to do some fishing with my pike, as poor Sapphire was beginning to look very hungry. So with Sapphire somewhat fed, I headed up a nearby mountain for another yellow drop, which ended up having another great saddle in it. Mammoth saddle? You don't hate it? You don't hate it? Okay. You know, we're just gathering saddles for creatures that will hopefully spin that we could maybe use for the boss fight. Mammoth would be great. And while up here, I gathered some more crystal that I'll need for making cryos. And just as I was leaving the mountain, my parasaur had finished taming in the distance. Before returning to it though, I first needed to get some hide for its saddle, and I found a nice chunky pig to tie down with a bola, and taking it out would give me more than enough hide. I slapped the new saddle on my new parasaur and named him Sweet Relief, and then immediately started putting him to work gathering berries. Oh yes, give me them berries, girl. Oh my gosh, it feels so good. I love it. I love the way you make me feel, baby. But the fun had to stop for a moment, as it was time to find out what creature would be next on the list of tames. Okay, a terror bird, you know, not terrible. We can get one of those. All right. Overcome with the joy of not having to handpick berries, I stayed gathering for a short while longer until I had a large stock of narcoberries that I could begin turning into narcotics. I also crafted another crab pot to safely store Sweet Relief, and with that, I made the trip over to the nearby redwoods on Sapphire, where I would immediately spot a very nice terror bird. A 140 terror bird at that, and it has a baby that I can use for the prime meat. That is what you like to see. Okay. I drew the bird down the beach for an easier tame, and while it pecked away at Sapphire, I hit it with the bola only to then see the cavalry flapping its way onto the scene. So I had to quickly dispose of its low-level friend, and once I did, I re-bowled my target and began knocking it out until the bola eventually broke, and I was left to chase it down until it thudded to the ground. I think it went down. I think I just heard it go down. Of course, even though we're on the outskirts of the redwoods, that doesn't mean the same annoying pests aren't present as a Microraptor would show up to quickly dismount me into the water. Oh, and I'm in the water.
Nice. Killing you as soon as I can. Hope you know that, buddy. I'm killing you as soon as I wake up from this. You're gonna die. I'm gonna kill you so bad. Die already. My gosh.
The freaking Microraptor. I returned to try checking on my bird again, and again, another Microraptor had other plans for me. Bro, I'm gonna end up losing this thing. Oh my god.
I want you to understand, as soon as I come up, I'm killing you again. I'm killing you just like I killed your friend.
I hate you! With hopefully them all dealt with, I rushed in to feed the bird some narcotics as it was actually getting dangerously close to waking up, and then found a baby Pelagornis in the nearby ocean and committed some Pelagornis on Pelagornis crime for its prime meat, which I would feed to the terror bird. Then, just as it was about to finish taming, an acro of all things came trudging up the beach. Oh my gosh, it's one of those things. Bro, you gotta come quick, my guy, out to the ocean with you. Oh my gosh, it's tamed. Come on, buddy, we gotta get out of here. There's a freaking big boy right there. There we go. All right, sweet. Let's get out of here. But with the terror bird secured, it was time to spin again in hopes of getting some of our key tames. To find out what our next tame will we finally get something really good? Okay, well, I mean, it's an ocean tame that we can use to explore the ocean. Okay, so the dolphin is actually not a bad spin since it opens up the ocean for me, but before going for it, I wanted to catch my breath and get some things done, such as stocking up on some more hide. But when I noticed the Phiomia had a baby following behind it, which meant quick and easy prime meat, I took it as a sign to go ahead and look for a dolphin. So I quickly made another cryo I would need for storing one and jumped in the water, basically right on top of one. I started hand feeding it the prime meat and bobbed around for a little while with my new friend until one last feed completed the tame, and I of course named it Flipper. I also named the terror bird I had just tamed Drumstick. And with the slaughter of the Phiomia family, I had plenty of hide in stock to craft Drumstick's saddle and decided to take it out on a quick little test run, chomping away at a nearby parasaur who I had bullied, but honestly, it was not overly impressive.
Oh, you know, didn't really do that great. I mean, it is just a terror bird, so yeah.
But with the dolphin tamed, hopefully the next spin would bring something better. Come on, please. Keep going. No, don't stop on a saber tooth. The mammoth would have been clutch.
You know, I genuinely would like to take a moment from taming everything and go and like actually find a spot to just kind of start setting up base and doing some stuff. But I keep getting things that are right here. Like I can find saber tooths on either of these mountains. So I have to just go get it done. Just tame a saber tooth and move on, you know?
So I did just that, heading up the mountain where I had gathered crystal, and sure enough, I spotted myself a saber-tooth. Only problem was, Sapphire was once again starving to death, so I had to hold off on the tame and instead return to the lake for some more fish harvesting. Back at the mountain, I lured the saber-tooth down to a more wide open spot, hit it with a bola, and knocked it out clean. And thankfully, this one had a baby in tow, which meant some very sick and twisted but easy prime meat. And before long, the saber-tooth was tamed, and Mittens joined the team. Taming Mittens also completed a line of tasks, earning me 3 skill points, and I spent them all on bonded taming. Since I won't be breeding for imprints, this will at least provide some sort of imprint on my boss fighting creatures. And with that, the day ended with another spin of the wheel.
An anglerfish.
Well, you know. Okay, so with an anglerfish as my next target, I had to do some more prepping, but first I wanted to stock up on berries before leaving the safety of Bison Island. And not just for making more narcotics, but also for gathering the individual crop seeds I'll need for a garden. Once I had enough, I fired up some more narcotics and set sail towards an area I want to settle down for good and make my permanent base of refuge. The journey was long, but eventually I was coming around the rocks and closing in on the outskirts of Viking Bay, which is basically where I'll be setting up base. A little while longer, and with the sun already going down, I had arrived. Before setting up a pad though, I noticed a red drop that I simply couldn't ignore, but of course it had no issues ignoring me. No! Oh my gosh! So back at the cliff, I began laying down some foundations for a platform to work off of and started attempting to move things up from my raft. But I quickly realized this was going to take a while, and it would be more efficient to start growing my crops first. So instead I headed to a nearby lake where beavers were building dams that I knew would hold the pace I needed for crafting greenhouse structures.
Oh my gosh, get out of here, bird! Oh, that was almost terrible. Okay. I think that's actually probably enough paste right there. Yeah, that's more than enough paste. Okay. Sweet.
I also stopped off at a mountaintop just up from the lake to get some more crystal, and on my way back down, I spotted another acro, and this one was a level 120.
There is another one. Oh my gosh.
120. Hey, baby, okay. I then gathered some more crystal from another nearby spot and a little bit more from a spot in the jungle to take home and craft enough pieces for a 1x1 greenhouse. Of course, I also made up some crop plots as well as the water tank and the water intake pipe, placing the pipe down in the water and adding the tank up on my cliff. But the tank's range didn't quite reach where I wanted to put the plants, so I added one more next to them, and just like that, they were irrigated. With everything set up, I built my little greenhouse around the plots and got all of my tames out of their cryos to provide me with the poop I'll need to use for fertilizer. As the next morning began, I decided to clear out the area a little with sweet relief. I then crafted a shovel down in my smithy, used it to till the soil of the crop plots to speed up the growth, and for now planted just the long grass seed as it's what I really need, and I only have so much poop to go around. With the plant growing, I returned to the task of slowly grabbing things off my raft and relocating them topside. That is, until I spotted a purple drop in the distance I couldn't ignore, and at first glance, I thought it was much better than it actually was.
Oh my gosh. An Arthro saddle, a donkey, and another. Okay, well, alright. It's actually not as good as I thought it was.
So it was back to the slow task of completing the move until again I spotted another drop that again I couldn't ignore. Ooh, red ring drop, oh my gosh, let me get this stuff out of my inventory. Unfortunately though, it was for the most part another dud. While out though, I hit another yellow drop that again was just okay, and a yellow ring drop that had some great BPs in it, but the mats for making them were insane.
Brandon on saddle. Oh my gosh, look at that chitin. Holy, look at that hide. What's the point, dude? We're not making that BP.
And I think it's worth mentioning at this point that I felt it was very important to hit any good drop within range, because my ragtag army is going to need good saddles, and I'm going to need really good weapons if we have any shot of pulling this off. But anyways, back on task, I decided to craft the improved pickaxe I'd gotten a BP for since it wasn't too expensive, and then made up some more spark powder as it was the last thing I needed to craft a fabricator, which I placed down next to my smithy. In order to make much in it though, I needed pearls for electronics, so I returned to the beaver dams in hopes of finding some, but the first home wasn't hoarding any. Still, I kept looting every house I could, and before long I had an okay little stockpile of pearls to take home.
I cannot risk dropping the stuff. I'm sorry. I know this is like blasphemy. I simply can't risk it. They'll destroy me.
Once there, I powered up the fabricator and then immediately used the quiet home skin on it to shut it up before using it to churn out a handful of electronics, which I needed to craft a generator that I would place down and silence as well. Back in my fabricator, I churned out another pile of electronics and used them to this time make myself a refrigerator. I placed it down in place of my old preserving bin and loaded it up with all of my perishables. But of course, with every little bit of progress comes more drops that need grabbing. The first red one had at least one good thing that might come in handy for the boss fight.
Oh, we'll take that. But we will take that assault rifle. That's the crap I'm talking about. We need good weapons.
The second one had a Bronto saddle, which really isn't going to do much for me, and the purple one wasn't breathtaking either. So back on the task of upgrades, I crafted an industrial grill to replace my campfire when yet again another drop was coming down that I would have to get.
I know the drop hunting is probably getting excessive, but I need them. Okay, I need them.
But first, I stayed on the upgrade train, placing down more mortar and pestles to speed up future narcotic production, and crafting a chainsaw to help with hide gathering. Once the drop was down, I grabbed it, and inside was a really good Anki saddle that honestly might come in handy.
I will gladly take an Anki into the boss fight if I can get one, so an Ascendant Anki saddle, not the worst thing to get, right?
Back on the pad, I crafted a fabricated crossbow that I'll use for knocking out the anglerfish, and then in need of hide for my dolphin saddle, I took out a nearby archelon in possibly the saddest way ever recorded.
This is so sad. Oh my gosh, that was so sad. Brother was literally just sitting. Oh, stupid otter. I put that thing on passive.
While out, I grabbed another drop that had an Ascendant deer saddle in it. Again, another creature that just might find its way into the boss arena. And then it was back to the real task of tying up helpless creatures to chop down and grind up with my chainsaw, giving me loads of hide. And I would stay doing this for the remainder of the night. Watching all of the butchering made Sapphire hungry though, so we took a quick dip through the riverbeds to farm a massive amount of fish when something tragic nearly happened.
Oh my gosh. How that thing did not just grab me off my bird, I don't know. But it's time to go. Look, we got plenty of fish. Let's get out of here.
So with my bird's belly full and thankfully still intact, I returned to chopping up dinos for hide, and once I had a good stock, I returned to base to craft the dolphin saddle. Only problem was I couldn't find the cryopod that was holding my dolphin anywhere.
There's all my cryopods. Where's the dolphin? Did I really throw my dolphin out somehow? I cannot find the dolphin anywhere. Oh my goodness. Dude, are we being so serious right now?
That is, until I realized what I had done. You see, before crafting the saddle, I couldn't find my fiber stockpile, which made me realize my original smithy was still on the raft, and for some reason, I crafted a new one not thinking. So I got all the loot out of the smithy, but forgot about the dolphin cryo, and when I picked up the smithy, the bag must have fallen through the raft. So I dove into the ocean, desperately searching for the bag, and thankfully, it was still down here.
There's a bag down there. That's my raft bag. That's my smithy bag. There's my dolphin. Oh, oh my gosh. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. What a flippin' recovery.
When I returned topside with my dolphin, I noticed my crops were now at the middling stage, which means soon they will be fully grown and producing corn. So I crowded up Sweet Relief and we headed off towards the highlands. Of course, stopping along the way to grab every drop we could. On the way there, I also made sure to check for any future tames, and while resting for stamina, I spotted a Rex that I'll hopefully have the chance to come back for.
Oh, baby. Okay, that's a 140 Rex. That is going in the mental notes of something to keep an eye out for. If we ever get a Rex, we know there's a 140 over here in these rivers.
But unable to tame it for now, I pressed on towards the farm, and when I stopped to wait for a green drop to come down, I heard what sounded like something big.
I'm not the only one who heard like giant footsteps over here somewhere, right? I definitely just heard like massive footsteps. Oh, yeah, right there. I definitely just heard some massive footsteps somewhere in the area as I'm waiting for the screen drop, and sure enough, there's a frickin' level 15 car char standing right there.
So definitely not trying to grab that drop, I pushed onto the farm, but before I could feel comfortable with getting my only berry gathering tame out, I first need to lure away some nearby aloes, to include this amazing looking red and black one that is also a level 130, only to find out that the parasaur can't actually harvest these crops. Turns out I brought it out here into the danger zone for no reason, or at least that's what I thought in the moment. Instead, I just ran around like a madman, spamming the ever-living crap out of my E key to randomly grab as many hidden potato plants as I could find, and once I had enough, I stopped at the cave once again to stock up on some more crystal, then took out a novice for some mutton that might last long enough to help with the angler tame. Of course, on the way home, any drop within a reasonable distance was targeted, to include a blue one I noticed by the beaver lakes, but before getting to it, I would spot something magical.
Oh, what is that? Oh my gosh, a female rainbow parasaur! A level 170. Now I already have a parasaur, but it's a shiny. I can tame any shiny that I see, even if I already have it, even if I've already spun it. I can still tame it.
So I hit it with a bola and started rapid firing arrows into its face until it eventually dropped to the ground. Sweet relief came in handy after all, helping me quickly gather measure berries, and I just sort of floated around in the area, scanning for any threats until the parasaur was tamed, and it even came with a little bonus, completing another skill task and rewarding 3 more points that I would spend on the hot-blooded trait. With my new parasaur in my pocket, I continued home, deviating again towards a yellow drop that would vanish before I could reach it, but in its place was yet another magical find.
Another shiny, bro! What the heck? It's a saber-tooth. It's another thing I've already tamed. 165 Caribbean saber-tooth. Why do I keep getting shinies of things I already flippin' have?
It took into the next morning, but eventually I got the shiny isolated from the other carnivores, and after a quick bola, I began rapid-fire blasting its face with arrows. But despite me putting more than enough arrows into her face, she was not going down, even after running around for some time. So I hit her with another bola and began fisting her face. When the bell rang for round number 2, she didn't stand a chance.
Go to sleep. 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 Yes, we did it! We punched her asleep! Okay, all right.
I didn't have a cryo for her though, so I quickly gave her the nearly spoiled mutton, as well as some extra meat just in case, and headed home to release my other tames. Once there, I named my new parasaur Skittles, and while here, I noticed my crop was now fully grown and producing corn, but that would have to wait a moment as I returned to my down saber-tooth, only to find the classic creature in the mesh trick had once again creeped up to snare me.
Oh my gosh, it's in the mesh! Oh, mesh monster got me again. Who would have guessed?
But still, I waited for it to tame and thankfully got lucky.
Question is, can I cryo? Oh, there's a little spot right here. Come on. Yes. All right, we got it.
And this little kitty was named Blue Raz. Moving away from shiny taming and back to the wheel, I threw all the ingredients I needed into the cooking pot and began making Lazarus chowder that will allow me to dive down and find the anglerfish I need. With a few cooked, I crafted more trank arrows and landed down on the raft to get out Flipper, and we were off to sea to tame us an angler. Once far enough out, I sucked down the chowder and dove down, to which I literally found one straight away.
There's one right there. Okay. Haha, baby. It's beautiful when you literally just dive down and see one. You love to see that. Okay, level 60.
So I started loading it up with arrows, but due to pestering megalodons and other anglers showing up to provide a mate boost, it took way longer and more arrows than it should have.
There we go. Oh my gosh, he's down. Thank goodness, dude.
Still, it was down, so I returned to land and quickly hunted down a baby dodo bird for the prime meat I needed and swam back out to the fish to quickly dump it all on. Before long, it finished taming and we made a hasty exit from these dangerous waters, as I actually do care about keeping this thing in case I need to gather more pearls. And with that, after basically 8 days, I could finally spin the wheel again for my next tame.
Can we get something actually useful? Something we might actually want to take into the boss fight? An Arthro. Okay, well, we have a good saddle for him. It just sucks because we're going to have to spoil meat tame it. Well, actually, no, we do have black pearls. We might be able to make some. All right, well, it is. Okay, that's what we're getting. I guess that's what we're going for next.
Before heading out to tame the acid-spitting bug, I got my angler back out and named it Roadblock. Then came the plan for an Arthro. Originally, I began crafting a saddle from a new saber-tooth, thinking I might try getting rhino horns to make a broth for taming a high-level one. But ultimately, I decided not to waste the time on it, and instead just began making bug repellent, as I was just going to get a low-level one with spoiled meat. To find one, I headed back to the volcano where I knew they are, and sure enough, I spotted the perfect target, a measly level 5.
A level 5 Arthur. You couldn't ask for any better. You couldn't ask for better.
I threw my ghillie on, sprayed myself down, riled up my tames, and walked straight up to its face to begin the tame. One more feed would finish it, and then the most predictable thing ever would happen.
Yeah, that'll happen, huh? Hey, come on, buddy. Well, okay, yep. All right, well, it's done, though.
Regardless, the tame was done, and I could spin again. Arthro's tamed and dead, and we're moving on to a Phiomia.
Okay. Easy to get. Has an actual use to it when it comes to making poop. We'll take it. Whatever.
With my next target being a Phiomia, I actually do sort of want to find a high level one, as I could maybe just pump the crap out of its health to hopefully keep it alive as long as possible during the boss fight. So I began searching, but first I stopped at a purple drop that had some more good saddles. While out searching, I hit up a few more drops, which netted me another Megatherium saddle as well as one for an Iguanodon. But my search for a pig was not going well until I remembered from my past playthroughs that they spawn a lot around the beaver lakes. And when I showed up, by golly, did I find what I was looking for.
It's a pig right there. 150? No way, dude. Literally the first one I find is a 150 pig. Oh my gosh, I gotta keep this guy safe. There's danger all around us.
Only problem was the pig wouldn't come out of the water, and when a pack of raptors showed up, it seemed to have some sort of a death wish.
Go away, pig, run away! Run away, pig, run away! The stupid pig is staying right with them.
Thankfully, I was able to fend the raptors off to prevent them from finishing off the already weak pig, but since there is no way to really heal a wild herbivore, I had no choice but to try my luck knocking it out despite its current state. So I went back to searching, and while doing so, I spotted a sleeping Megalosaurus that I would have to take a note of.
Okay, this is actually huge to take a note of right here. There is a Megalosaurus right here. Level 50 is terrible. Just in case we roll that, that's very important. Good note to take. There's one right there we can tame because they're not the easiest thing to find. You know, they can be kind of snaky.
Only to then immediately eat my words.
Ooh, there's another one right there. Okay, well, I take back everything I just said. They're apparently all over the place. And this one's a 135. Okay, so that will be the one we tame. If we ever roll one.
Moving on though, I continued my search for a pig, which surprisingly took way longer than you would think, until I finally found another worthy one overlooking a pond.
Pig, there's a pig, there's a pig. 145! Oh, we take it, baby! Yes!
Before long, the pig had finished taming, and I named him Evil Dr. Porkchop. Which meant it was time to spin again.
Oh my gosh, stop on Anki, please! There's literally one right here! Yes! There's literally like a 145 or 135 or something. I just saw it as I was coming over here. Oh my gosh, dude.
Unfortunately, even though I knew for a fact a high-level Anki was somewhere close, as I had just spotted one, I couldn't seem to find it for the life of me.
My man's vanished on me. My man's vanished on me. He knew he knew my intent. He said, I'll have none of it.
But I wasn't giving up. Early the next morning, I returned to where I tamed the pig to try backtracking my steps, and that's when I spotted the Anki doing its best to hide from me.
Wait, there he is. He's on the cliffside. Holy crap. Yes, a 140 Anki. Dude, I have the stuff to do this. I barely have enough arrows.
So I began gathering a bunch of wood, thatch, and stone to begin setting up a ramp trap, which took a good while doing it by hand, but eventually the trap was ready. All I had to do now was convince the Anki to follow me to it.
Follow me downstream. Come on, buddy. Follow me down the stream. Here we go.
But of course, as we got close, he got a bit shy and was having trouble deciding if he wanted to fight the person who was literally attacking him. I even tried luring him over with a pleasant melody.
Come on, buddy. You can do it if you try. Come on, buddy. Walk right up here and fly into this trap, please. Literally gave up. He gave up right at the doorstep.
Eventually, I resorted to just doing it on foot, but even that somehow went wrong.
My God in heaven. There we go. No way! Oh, no way, that just happened. This man refuses to be trapped.
Thankfully, attempt number 2 went much better, and the Anki was helpless as I quickly inserted 28 arrows straight to its face.
As by all means. Oh, there it goes. All right, sweet. That took so long after I finished shooting. But the 140 Anki is down, baby.
Since it was going to take some time to tame, I went back to gathering a bunch more stone and switched up the trap to a fully encased box to protect it while I did the obvious thing. Went back to hunting drops, to which a red ring drop would be the massive find I've been looking for.
Get out of there! We got a big one, baby! Oh my gosh, dude! freaking 60% assault rifle. That is what we needed right there. Holy crap, what a find. We're taking that home immediately. We're not even risking something happening to us. We're storing this at the base.
While back at base dropping off the loot, I decided to also look over what saddles I had just to see what I might be working with. And then I stuffed the doctor full of stimberries to encourage some rectal release, providing me with all the dung I could possibly want to plant the rest of my crops and get them all fertilized nicely. From there, I went back out to hit another drop that was coming down, and it was another jackpot of a find.
We got... Oh, baby, I'll take that.
So I took that back home for safekeeping too, and while here, I crafted one of the mod items I'm using called the Bulk Storage Crafter. Essentially, it's the same thing as the visual storage mod I always use, but instead of various bins, everything is just small boxes, like primitive dedicated storage. But it turns out that crafting each bin is way more expensive, which honestly might be a good thing as I think it helps balance the mod some. So with my upgrade foiled, I went back to drop hunting, and one yellow drop netted me another useful saddle.
Oh, there's a Doed saddle and a Mastercraft metal sickle. Okay.
This also gave me time to think about what else to upgrade, and so once home, I crafted 4 more forges and placed them down in preparation for an increase in metal collection. Then, while putzing around base, I noticed the Yankee had finished taming in the distance and decided to spin the wheel now in case I land on something I could tame while out retrieving it.
Something I can just grab on my way to get the Yankee. Something easy maybe, or something good. Okay, a vulture. I mean, it's not on the way to getting the Yankee, but there is some right here near in Viking Bay, so not a bad grab. We'll go ahead and get one.
Thankfully, I spotted an easy to tame one just down in Viking Bay, and with one feed, it was done and out of the way, and Tombs was now part of the flock, meaning I could try the wheel again, and this time I got something I will definitely be taking into the boss fight.
Okay, not that easy to tame, not on the way to get the Yankee, but holy crap, definitely want that as a tank in the boss fight. Ooh, also, it can carry my Yankee around. So I can now, I now have a way to carry the Yankee around to harvest metal quicker.
First, I had to retrieve my Yankee, and since it will likely be making the final team, I wanted to see what kind of stats we were working with. Unfortunately, there's no replacing it, so once back home, I went ahead and gave it the Ascendant Saddle, as well as a few levels in health, and named it Pincushion. And then I realized that until I have an easy way of getting my Yankee up to the top, it would probably be best to relocate my forges down to the raft for making metal runs. While down here, I of course took Pincushion out for the ceremonial first proper metal run and stayed gathering until I had a decent little stockpile, but also to level his health some, because in the end, he's just going to be tanking damage. Once I had some good metal, I had to make multiple trips to gather all the wood I would need by hand, but eventually the forges were all lit, and I was sailing home on what was now the SS Snoop Doggy Dog. While the metal cooked, I began planning for the Carcanos tame, starting with crafting some large bear traps. Then it was out again to gather more stone and wood, this time being smart enough to use my chainsaw for the wood. And once I had enough, I crafted the catapult I'll need for knocking it out. Still, I needed even more stone for making the trap, but while gathering it, I remembered I had gotten a few stone behemoth gates out of a drop, and so I destroyed them to speed up the process. Next, I put down the catapult and crafted a single boulder just to test out how much it would weigh. And since they are obnoxiously light, I decided to return to stone gathering until I had enough to craft 19 more boulders, which should be enough to knock out any level Carcanos I find. From there, I gathered up all my other trap pieces from my smithy, some spoiled meat from a toilet I'd gotten from another drop, and then the boulders and the catapult, and we were on our way across the map to find an easy to tame Carcanos. On the way, I checked the levels of pretty much any tame I would hope to one day spin, and boy did I find a pair that would make a huge difference.
140 aggro! Oh, baby! Dude, please, I gotta spin this thing. I've got to get one of these at some point, hopefully later on, because right now would be a real crazy attempt to try to tame that, but an Elder Claw here too. 145 Elder Claw, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, dude, we gotta get some of these things. Later on in my travels, I spotted a crazy Karchar, but this one was a bit of a magician. Oh, and there's a Rex. Oh, it's Karchar. 150 Karchar! Oh my god! Oh, well. Well, okay, never mind. Apparently not. Disregard. He is actually gone.
But between constantly stopping to check levels and going the wrong way at one point, the journey took a very long time, but eventually I could see Karkanos Island in the distance. Of course, before going in to check, I had to grab a purple drop that was on the island, and it actually had some more stone gates that might come in handy. And with that, it was time for the moment of truth.
There are crabs in here. I only see 2 though, so God, please let one of them be good. 130. Oh my gosh, I love it. 65. Well, I wanted you for your colors, but your partner is just so much better.
So with a worthy Karkanos ready to be tamed, I quickly set up a bear trap on a flat spot outside the entrance of their lair and partially set up some gates around it for the trap. All that was left to do now was to lure the better of the 2 Karkanos over to the trap, which was going pretty smoothly until he decided to plummet to the bottom of the ocean and seemingly got stuck down there. Thankfully, he was able to eventually find his way up. The only problem was he wasn't getting trapped by the bear trap, and I was feeling a little bit lied to by the internet. But eventually, I managed to get him trapped by simply sitting atop one of the gates and surrounding him while he attempted to hammer me with his massive claw.
Well, there we go. That works. That works. And it really can barely even move. So, all right, we'll take that, I guess.
With him stuck, I set up the platform, placed the catapult on top, and it was time to begin knocking him out, which surprisingly went very smooth.
Yeah, we did it! Oh my golly gee, it's down, baby! We got us a Karkanos out.
However, it was going to take some time for him to tame, so I decided to use the time to go gather the materials I'll need for crafting his saddle, which meant passing the Wyvern Cave and nearly crapping my pants.
Oh my gosh, do not look down. Holy crap, brother. Oh my gosh. Bro, we gotta, my freaking, the hair on the back of my neck is standing up. Oh my gosh, we gotta get the flip out of here.
One pair of soiled underwear later, I arrived at the freezing cold snow-covered peaks, where I found a small riverbed that contained the blue gems I needed for the saddle, and I stayed gathering them, braving the cold, until I had enough for both the saddle and a glide suit. From there, I headed off to the swamp, where a few special trees can be harvested for fungal wood, which, hindsight being what it is, I probably should have brought the chainsaw for this. Still, I carefully gathered one tree at a time into the next morning until I had all the fungal wood I would need for the saddle, and headed back to the Karkanos, who was nearly tame. On the way, I spotted another powerhouse tame I would be crossing my fingers to eventually spin.
Ooh. Man, a 145 done Ethereum all the way down here, but that is the first good one I've seen. All the ones up by my base are terrible.
And then, not even 500 meters later, I spotted another.
Oh my gosh, and a 150 Archelon down here. All the Archelons up on my base are terrible. Bruh.
And when the Karkanos finished taming while I was still en route, I couldn't help but spin the wheel immediately in hopes I would get one.
I'm too impatient to wait. I gotta know what I'm getting next. Come on. It's too exciting. Keep going. All right, a Carno. That's actually not bad. We have a great saddle. We just got to find a good one. Sweet. Okay.
After getting my results, I arrived at the crab and retrieved it and spent basically the whole day flying home as I was keeping an eye out for any good Carnos. Once home, I quickly crafted saddle and named him Eugene. So with my next tame being a traditional knockout, I started off the next morning making some gunpowder and used that to make a small batch of simple rifle ammo that I would then turn into trank darts for the long neck rifle I got days ago. While out hunting for a Carno, I of course continued to stop at any and every drop in range, and this yellow one had a rather interesting saddle BP in it.
Okay, what is that? Oh, the spider saddle apparently is just nothing now.
But back on the hunt, it was surprisingly hard to find even a single Carno, and when I finally did, I got jumped by the least likely of creatures.
Oh, there's a Carno. Come on, baby, be a good level. The heck? What the heck? Hey! Hey! What's going on? Hey! Hey! Hey!
The Carno ended up being a dud, but nearby was something that was anything but that. Another acro and another monster level.
75, that's not good enough. Oh, there's another freaking acro here. 150 acro! Oh my gosh, dude, are you out of your mind? A 150. Bro, I have to get one of these.
My Carno search continued anyways, despite each one I found being somehow worse than the last. That was until I finally spotted one worth taming.
140, that's what I'm talking about. That's who we've been looking for, baby.
So with my good armor and the Carno's terrible aim, I decided to just tank its hits as I knocked it out, and before long, it was down. Now I just needed to get prime meat, and with no babies in sight, I was left to gather it the old-fashioned way, to include taking out a level 150 Carno. Now, while I'm not limiting myself to taming the first creature I see, I am following a rule that once I begin the tame process, I'm locked in on that one. So unfortunately, I can't upgrade to this 150. Early in the next morning, I began feeding the Carno the prime meat, and then just basically sat around waiting till the tame finished. And with that, Carnage joined the team. Back at base, I hooked Carnage up with an Ascendant saddle I had waiting for him, and it was time to spin again. And this one might very well be the most clutch spin of the playthrough. That is actually huge. We will be able to use a Drakeling to level these creatures in ways that we would not be able to, like getting an Anki leveled would be very hard, but with the Drakeling, we can use its little ability to level it quicker. So this is actually huge. We just have to find a summer one. But before attempting to tame one, I needed something I could get kills with. So first, I took my Anki back out for some more flint gathering, stopped over at the raft to grab all the charcoal I had, and returned topside to craft a bunch more spark powder, which I then churned into gunpowder. While doing this, I also remembered my plan to craft a glide suit, so I went ahead and did that as well, and then began making advanced rifle bullets for that super powerful assault rifle I got from an earlier drop. With that, I had everything I needed, and so I began my search around the blue obelisk, where I know I've seen one in a past playthrough, but instead I found the smallest of all ARK's creatures, a baby compy, which I quickly gunned down with my rifle for its prime meat I'll need for taming the Drakeling. From there, it was back to searching, and before long, I was already beginning to lose my mind.
Oh, you got me, you dragonfly bastards. I thought for a second, you know, just hopeful imagination, I guess.
By the day's end, I had made it nearly to the bottom of the map, and everything with wings was beginning to look like a Drakeling, but still I found none. So starting the next day, I began doubling back towards the blue obelisk, where at least I know I've seen one at some point in my life, but I wouldn't have to even go that far, as I finally spotted one while passing through the swamp.
Oh, there's one right there! There's one right there! Oh, baby, baby, baby! Dude, oh my gosh, it's green and orange. Hopefully it's a summer.
I just couldn't for the life of me figure out why the little girl didn't want to land on my beautiful boulder shoulders.
Come on, brother. Come on, brother. What are you doing? Dude, what are you doing? Please, come to me. Yes. Yes. No. Come to me. It's a 125. Come on, dude. I'm right here with my torch. Please. What do I have to do to convince you that this is what you want? Oh, it's my otter, huh? Oh, my otter, duh.
Once my shoulders were free of my otter, the Drakeling landed on them, and the taming process began.
Oh, there we go. Oh, crap, I need prime meat for it. I actually don't even know if these give prime meat, to be honest. They do not give prime. Oh, yeah, they do. Okay. Woo. That was only 12%, though. Okay, it's going to take a little bit.
And before long, I was completing the final requirement to feed it one last piece of prime meat and finish the tame.
There it is! We got ourselves a flippy Drakeling.
Once she was tamed, the process also hooked me up with an experience boost that I had completely forgotten about and was terribly unprepared for. So I made the best of it by killing off anything I felt would give decent experience on the route back to base. Of course, I also had to grab the yellow raindrop on the way home, which gave me a very nice rattle saddle to add to the list of creatures I now will hopefully spin. And speaking of spinning the wheel, it was time for my next tame.
Hopefully we're back to getting things we can take into the boss fight. We need to start building up our army. Oh, please stop. Don't do that. Okay, a mammoth. Absolute massive win. Boss fight creature for sure. We already have a good saddle for one.
So needing more darts for taking one of these giants down, it was back out to gather more flint and stone for making more spark powder to then make more gunpowder. While that crafted, I named my Drakeling Gale. Then once the powder was done, I used some of it to craft just a small handful of simple bullets to turn into trank darts, and I was off to the snow-covered mountains to begin searching for not only another boss fighter, but also a tame that can gather me wood.
I'm looking for I'm looking for 140 or above. Like, ideally I find a 150, but it's going to be one of my key tames. Like, this mammoth is going to be one of the big dogs that makes this possible.
Of course, I would find plenty of them up here, but like I said, I'm not settling for anything short of a 140, which before long, I would find something even better than that.
100. 150! Oh my gosh! Oh, that's what we're looking for, baby!
But first, I had to get rid of its low-level friend off the side of the mountain. And then, with it gone, I began lowering the 150 up to a somewhat secluded spot to try knocking it out somewhere a little safer. But when it made a run for it, I had no choice but to knock it out in the open, where danger could find it at any moment.
Alright, he's down. Not where I wanted him to go down, though. Not where I wanted him to go down at all. This is not a good spot for this. This is just wide out in the open.
So with that in mind, I quickly began harvesting trees for wood, as well as some bushes for fiber, keeping an eye on a pack of direwolves who were creeping closer and closer to my sleeping mammoth. With what little bit I gathered, I put down a few spike walls to create a small buffer, and it was back to gathering for more. Eventually, the mammoth was surrounded and secure by the spikes, so I headed off to begin looting all of the delicious drops I had seen coming down. The first red one was nearly expired when I grabbed it, and had nothing really worth noting in it. But even worse, the other two yellows and red would all expire before I could get to them. So with no more drops to grab for the moment and the mammoth still taming, I spent the rest of the night doing a proper metal run by carrying pincushion in the claw of my Carcanos. By night's end, I had gathered a pretty nice load of raw metal, but even more important, my Anki had another 11 levels I could pump into its health. Early the next day, I returned to my raft and then hit the most smooth and totally intentional scoop of my Anki.
Well, that works out perfectly, actually. That was a complete accident, but that worked out perfectly.
Putting it into a perfect spot to begin moving all of the metal over to the forges. Then with some of my already cooked metal, I decided to go ahead and craft some of that bulk storage we touched on earlier. And I opted to go for the metal tier because frankly, I have a ton of paste, polymer, and metal, and crystal isn't that hard to come by. Plus the metal tier holds more than the wood tier. So I set a few of them up just off my pad and stepped back to check them out.
Dude, I really like that, the animation, like the little logo with the numbers. That looks nice. It looks clean. I like it.
But now I was completely out of organic polymer, so I crafted a mastercraft sickle that I had a blueprint for and glided down to the polymer cave with the new sickle in hand, ready to swing away at every juicy pink bush I could find. Once my pockets were full, I headed up to the nearly tame mammoth, and just as I was about to arrive, the beast stood to its feet tamed, and of course, I had to first check what sort of stats it's got.
43 points in health and 36 in melee. I'll take that 43 health roll. Thank you very much, ma'am.
So with a new boss-ready soldier in my bag, I began picking up the spiked walls and then headed out for a nearby red ring drop that was coming down. But before I could make it there, I couldn't resist the temptation of spinning the wheel again.
Another boss fighter, please. Another boss fighter, please. It's time to start building out an army. Stop at the theory. Stop at the theory. Stop at the theory, please. I mean, Elder Claw is also good, but I would love to get a theory. Thank you very much. All right, it doesn't get much better than that. A theory joins the team. That is going to obviously be a big win for us and help us on this boss fight.
When I arrived at the drop, it nearly sank into the mesh, but luckily stopped where I could still reach it, and inside was a slightly improved pump shotgun. Not what I'll need for the boss fight, but for now it will do. Now before going on a hunt for a theory, I needed to craft a few things, but first I wanted to organize my little pad some more by crafting more bulk storage, which apparently completed a task giving me 3 more skill points that I would spend on the heavy-footed skill. Not for the skill itself, but for the heart seeker and swift shot skills that are further down its tree. After that, I got the new storage set up and then got my mammoth equipped with the journeyman saddle I had waiting for it and named it Husky Tusky. Of course, I immediately put Husky Tusky to work gathering a butt ton of wood, which I would use to fill up my forges to get the metal production going once again, as I used all my metal on the storage and I need some more for crafting a medical stand. I'll also need blood packs, which meant I needed to make a syringe and then poke myself in the arm repeatedly like I was chasing that first high. While waiting on the metal, I crafted a few gates for a simple gate trap, and soon after that I had enough metal to craft the medical stand. So I grabbed a few hundred narcotics out of storage and headed off towards the blue obelisk in search of a theory. Of course, stopping along the way at a green drop which had a Procoptodon saddle BP in it.
Okay, a Procoptodon saddle. I wouldn't mind getting a Procoptodon for the boss, to be honest. Like, that would be a good mobile mount to have.
As the night was coming to a close, I spotted my first theory, but like the mammoth, this is 100% going into the boss fight, so I'm not settling for anything but the best. My search continued, of course, into the next day, but one after another, I found nothing but low levels, and the more I searched, the worse it got.
Level 5! Oh, buddy, it just gets worse.
Eventually, I decided I had to start trying to kill off whatever low-level ones I could, but even a level 10 was a bit of a challenge for Sapphire. But just as I dropped it, I spotted another one in the distance.
125? I might settle for that. I might settle for that. I'm so sick of searching.
Still, I wasn't quite ready to settle for a 125, so I marked it on my map and kept searching, which would pay off just a few minutes later as I found a level 130 that I decided would be good enough. To make things easier, I lured it down to the beach some, set up a gate trap, and trapped it flawlessly.
Boom. Easy as it comes, girl, you stupid.
Before long, the Theory was sleeping in the sands, and I was setting up a medical stand to hook it up to, keeping it hooked on drugs throughout the taming process, and keeping it safe behind a barrier of spiked walls. The tame was gonna take a very long time though, so I got to work gathering flint with my Yankee to complete another skill task, figuring those two previously mentioned skills would be worth grinding out for the boss fight. Next up was to harvest 25 fish, which I did easy peasy in the beaver lakes, as my final task was to simply loot one beaver dam. With the 3 points acquired, I unlocked the first tier of Bowman's Rhythm, which is in the way of the ones I want. Next, I began crafting spears for my next task, which was to deal 1000 damage with spears. And with so many little innocent creatures roaming my beach, it took no time at all.
You get to live.
After that, I had to deal 750 damage with a slingshot, which I completed by tying up a parasaur and pelting it in the face until the job was done. But the last part of the task list was to deal 1500 damage with a boomerang, which requires sand to craft. Now thankfully, there are actually sand piles in Viking Bay that would save me from having to make a trip all the way to the desert, giving me more than enough to craft a pile of boomerangs. With the boomerangs in hand, I began chucking them up a turtle's ass until it passed out, and then just beat it senseless until the task was complete and I had my skill points, which I used to finish off the Bowman's Rhythm skill to open the door to the tasks I wanted. But the stuff I would have to do to earn them would be a bit more complicated.
So it's got to be this one: 1000 rare mushrooms, 1000 rare flowers, 1000 obsidian.
Still, with nothing better to do at the moment, I headed off towards the swamp to get to work. By the next morning, I had arrived at a small, secluded island surrounded by mangrove trees, but to my surprise, my mammoth doesn't actually get any mushrooms from harvesting them, leaving me to do it by hand, which was not going to be very efficient at all. Ultimately, I decided to just wait till the Theory finished taming. Instead, I tracked down a level 45 Alpha Raptor I had seen while searching for the Theory, and decided to try my luck taking it out with my mammoth.
Why you running? Get back here, you coward! Get back here and fight me! What the heck is going on? This raptor is running from my mammoth.
Eventually, I caught up to it, pinned it against the wall, and proceeded to bully it into submission, with the biggest reward for taking it out being 15 levels I could pump into my mammoth's health stat.
Dang, almost 25k health now. That's what I'm talking about, baby! This girl's gonna live.
After that, I returned to my base and began making more gunpowder, turning into more advanced rifle bullets, and then crafted some grapples and cryoed up my Carno to return to the cave where I had previously tried taming a spider, this time in hopes of snagging some really good loot as well as maybe the artifact. And as I began making my way in, the Theory finished taming, but I proceeded on into the cave. Once I got into the large open room, I began picking off the bats with my rifle and shotgun, but it wouldn't take long at all for me to realize I had bitten off more than I could chew. Thankfully, I was able to scramble away and get my Carno out before dying, but even Carnage was having trouble taking the bats out. I knew I wouldn't be able to push all the way through the cave, but I would be damned if I wasn't at least grabbing the one yellow drop, which ended up being useless anyways.
Literally not even anything we can use. All right, let's just get out of here before we die.
So I returned to cryo my newly tamed Theory, who got pretty average stats all around, and it was time to once again spin the wheel.
What'll be next? What'll be next? Can we get another creature to add to the boss fighting army? Or just something useful in general? Okay, well, that sucks. Good news is they're easy, and you can find them like right here in Viking Bay, like up in the hills a little bit. So hopefully we can just find one really quick, knock it out, pop a rare flower in it, and it be done and over with, and we move on to the next thing.
Before going out searching, I named my Theory Tickle Tickle. And then immediately found a Microraptor in a spot I knew they could spawn. It just wasn't exactly in the best of circumstances.
It's all a very interesting combo of things happening. A Microraptor fighting a Parasaur. We got a Rex nearby. It's gonna kill all of it. Oh god, that's so bad. Oh, that's so bad for me, actually. Please leave me alone, Rex. Oh gosh, where's my Pelagornis? Sapphire, we gotta get out of here. What are you doing, Sapphire?
Thankfully, the Rex ignored my paralyzed body, and I was able to lure the Microraptor away to safely knock it out on the beach. It tamed up in minutes, and we quickly departed before the Rex could have us as a snack. This little nightmare is named Demon. But the good news is, with Demon tamed, we can spin the wheel once again.
Okay, Dimorph done. Another quick and easy tame. We're just gonna knock it out really quick.
Thankfully, this again was an easy tame to find, as one was just down the beach trying to get a drink, and even better, there was a baby dodo right where I found it, that I could chop up for the prime meat. I got the Dimorph knocked out, slipped at the prime, and before long, it was tamed and named Donnie, which meant the next day started off the best way possible, with another spin.
Come on. Procoptodon? I'll take it. I will take a kangaroo. I actually brought this up. A kangaroo would be great. It'll be mobile. We can shoot off the back of it. I'll take it.
So to tame a kangaroo, I prefer to try quickly gate trapping it rather than using billboards, so I crafted a few more to go along with another handful of darts as well as the Theory saddle so I can gather mushrooms while en route. But when I returned to my little swamp island to harvest the mushrooms, I was surprised to find that Theory also was not gathering them at an impressive rate. Still, I stayed here clearing out the entire small island, which still only got me about halfway to completing the task. So moving on for now, I headed south towards the bottom of the desert where I knew Procoptodons spawn in the bunches. On the way, I stopped off at a spot where some blue flowers, when harvested with my Theory, would give me rare flowers, with a plan to make trapping the kangaroo easier by using the flower to aggro it. Soon after showing up to the southern islands, I spotted my first kangaroo, but it was only a level 65, and since this could potentially be my mount for the boss fight, I needed to get a good one, which I would find just across the water.
Oh, there's another one across the water. Okay. Got one over there we can get maybe. 130. Okay.
Still though, I had just arrived and thought surely I could find something even better, so I marked my map for this one and kept on searching. I stayed searching for some time but found no upgrades, and with heat stroke setting in, I decided to simply return to the 130, who it turned out had a baby with it, which meant I was able to simply attack the baby to aggro the mother and lure her into my gate trap.
She's in. And she's trapped. Haha, yes. Nice, easy, smooth, awesome. Okay.
But while trying to get in the trap myself to make knocking her out easier, the ruse slipped out, and so I decided to just chase her down the old-fashioned way and knocked her out.
There we go. That was not as smooth as I would have liked it to be, but it worked out. Okay.
While she tamed, I returned to cooler lands to level my Theory, while also stocking up on hide, and most importantly, ridding myself of the migraine-inducing heat stroke. Early the next morning, I returned to find the Procoptodon had finished taming, and I named her Ruru. And Ruru actually had a decent health and stamina combo roll, which is great for something we plan to hop around the boss arena on. And with her tamed, you know what time it is. It's time to spin again.
Oh, I'll take a Triceratops. I will take a Triceratops. That will get it into the boss fight.
Now, considering I can find trikes anywhere to include Viking Bay, I decided to wait till I was home and instead set my sights back on the swamp to finish this task with my Theory, now leveled in delicate harvesting. And on the way, I spotted another tame that hopefully the wheel will one day bless me with.
Ooh, a 140 Dinosuchus over here. Okay, keep that in mind just in case. Keep that in mind just in case.
When I arrived back at my little island, the trees hadn't spawned back yet, so instead I stopped off where I tamed the Drakeling earlier and got to work harvesting more trees for mushrooms, which took a decent amount of time, but finally it was done. And I went straight to work gathering 1,000 rare flowers alongside a butt ton of fiber. And thankfully the flowers went way faster and the second task was complete. Next up was obsidian, but before starting on that, I wanted to get the trike tame underway, and the very first one I checked just below my base was the winner.
Literally the first Triceratops I've looked at is a 140.
With my powerful rifle, I knocked it out in just a few shots, fed it berries, and spiked it in for safekeeping. While that tamed, it was time to gather the 1,000 obsidian, starting with the few that spawn on the rocks near my base. But I figured the best area to get this done quick would be the volcano region, which obviously was a bit risky, but I felt it was a risk worth taking. And sure enough, it was done and over with in little time, and I had 3 new skill points I would spend on the first tier of Swift Shot. But now these set of tasks are a real stopping point.
Oh wow, defeat Gamma Broodmother. My goodness. Oh wow, that's not happening. We literally can't do that. Loot 3 green cave loot crates, loot 1 blue cave loot crate, retrieve 5 artifacts. Okay, so this is probably the most realistic, unless I happen to roll a freaking frog.
So I headed home. When I would notice the trike had finished taming, I stopped to cryo him up, and back up top, I named him Billy. And with Billy tamed, I could once again spin the wheel.
On and out what we get next. Oh, okay, stop. Wait, did that stop? It actually stopped. Oh my gosh, that is so freaking close. Holy crap!
So with the pig as my next target and a very good target to have, I knew I needed raw mutton to tame it, which meant another long trip back to the highlands. On the way, I made another pit stop in the volcano region to harvest a large bone for some salt, as well as a booger rock or some sulfur. And when I made it to the highlands, I spotted a few ovis pretty much immediately. But before the butchering could begin, I used a mortar and pestle I brought along to quickly make some preserving salts. That way, after slaughtering the sheep, I could throw all the meat in sapphire along with the salts to keep it stored for the long journey back. Once I I made it back, I stopped at base to craft some more trank darts, but more importantly to cryo Eugene for a plan I hatched on the long flight home. And it was off to the snow-covered peak to begin looking for a boss fight worthy pig. I would find a 125 after some searching, but wasn't quite ready to settle for that just yet, and sure enough, it was the right call.
135, we'll take that. We will take a 135. Let's get it off the ledge away from the wyvern nest though.
Before attempting anything though, I lured the pig off the snow to a slightly safer spot, and then realizing I was getting dangerously low on health from the cold, I found a nearby warm spot to eat some meat and slowly heal up. Once my health was looking good, I returned to the mountain to release the carcanos and moved all the mutton and salt into its inventory, and then I yoinked that little piggy straight off the side of the mountain and began leaping back towards my base spot. Back home, I knocked the pig out as Eugene dangled it helplessly in front of me and fed it all the mutton along with the salt. But realizing the salt wouldn't last through the tame, I returned topside to craft it another batch. Then while waiting on it to tame, I did a little bit of work around the pad, setting up a few more bulk storage, but making sure to leave a little doorway. I moved all the metal and charcoal from the forges down below up into storage, and placed down a few pet stands for my growing army of shoulder pets. While doing all this, I realized the Daedon had finished taming and was trying desperately to end her own life on the spiked walls I had surrounded her with, but I saved her and named her Mercy. And just as I was about to cry on Mercy, I noticed something very lucky about her.
She got the frickin' slow metabolism trait, and a level 2 at that, meaning she burns through food slower. Literally the perfect trait you could get on a Daedon to use for a boss fight. Insane.
And so with Mercy tamed, another day ended with another spin.
Another spin, another tame, another adventure awaits. What's it gonna be? You've gotta be kidding me. Another shoulder pet to throw on the stand. Okay, we stopped one short of a Spino. You love that.
So with another useless tame, my goal was just to get it done as quickly as possible, and thankfully I would find an absolute beast of a compy just down from my base.
Well, here's a compy right here. Hello, little friend. 145 male compy. That is what we're talking about, man. That's gonna be a beast.
Unfortunately, it took way longer than I would have liked to find some poor baby dodos that I would take out for the prime meat, but with one shot, the compy passed out, it tamed up almost instantly, and Micro was now on the squad. Once Micro was safely resting atop one of the pet stands, it was time to spin the wheel again in hopes of something better.
Give me something that can go into a boss fight, please. Oh, you could stop right there? You could stop? Don't go that, because that would be really bad. Oh, yes! Dude, we're rattling off actual boss fighting creatures. Holy crap.
So with another definite boss fighting creature on the docket, I made up some more darts to be safe, and it was back to the nearby snow-covered mountain, this time with my best fur armor on to keep me warm during my search. Surprisingly, it took a pretty decent amount of time to even find a Yudi, but unfortunately, they were not quite up to my standards for something I would take into a boss fight. So I kept searching and searching, which for the majority of the day resulted in finding nothing but empty mountaintops, until I finally spotted a level 125 that just so happened to be in one of the areas of Murder Snow where I was rapidly losing health from the cold. Still, I climbed up the hillside of my Carcanos, and surprisingly, the area where the Yudi was sitting was actually just out of the freezing zone, making it all the easier to tank its hits with a crab while I boxed it in with gates.
Did I get it? I think I got it. The problem is, I think I am stuck with it. Oh, we're out. Is it still in there? It is. Dude, we trapped it just like that. Awesome.
With the Yudi trapped and helpless, it was only a matter of time before it collapsed in the snow, and I was off to hunt down some prime meat, which I would find in the form of some baby dire bears who I yoinked with the Carcanos against their mother's best wishes.
Oh, I didn't think she would aggro me for yoinking them. Haha.
But I needed to wait a little while to feed the Yudi, so I just sort of hung around until enough time had passed, and then I proceeded to smash the younglings into the snow and fed their remains to the Yudi. Then, while waiting on a yellow drop to come down, I spotted another Yudi in the distance, and to my dismay, it was 10 levels better than the one I had already locked in. But on a positive note, when the drop did come down, it held a saddle for a potential Allosaurus tame, as well as a scuba chest piece that will come in handy for any future oceanic tames. From there, I just basically sat around my Yudi waiting for it to tame, knowing damn well that this cliffside was a mesh hole waiting to happen if I left render. And once it finished taming, I named it Wars. Then, before departing the snow mountain once again, I stopped off at another green drop, which ended up having a very clutch saddle in it.
Hey, oh my gosh! A freaking Procoptodon saddle!
But then, before I could make it out of the snow, I spotted another Yudi, and when I took a little peek out of curiosity, I noticed something amazing.
Oh my gosh! That's a freaking shiny! It's a shiny Argent! Oh my gosh, it's a freaking shiny Argent! It's gonna die to that Yudi if I don't get involved.
So I scrambled to set up a gate trap for the beautiful bird and got it trapped flawlessly, and after a few quick shots, she was down.
There she goes. Okay, sweet, dude. Nice. Now, if only we could get one of these shinies in a creature that we actually want to take into the boss fight or can take into the boss fight, like a rhino or like a man, like whatever, something that would go into the boss fight. It would be great because they get the bonus levels, you know, they're stronger, but it is what it is. We'll take an Argent.
Nearby, I rescued some baby wolves from absolute chaos and then proceeded to beat them into oblivion for their prime meat to feed to my new magical feathery friend. But worried it would spoil before the bird finished taming, I gathered a little bit more off some mammoths who had barely survived a fight with a Yudi. And then I just stayed nearby, killing off everything I could find to level my Carcanos, and by the time the Argent was nearly finished, the crab was sporting over 32,000 health. Soon after that, the Argent finished taming, and since I was out of cryopods, it would just have to follow close behind as we flew over to some nearby waters for a quick pit stop to fill up Sapphire with more fish. Back at base, I went to make the saddle for my newest tame, but realized I was short on chitin for getting the job done. So instead, I named her Rubelite. And then I realized that in all the excitement of finding the shiny Argent, I hadn't yet spun the wheel after taming the Yudi. Come on, go a little further! Go, go, go! Oh, that's gonna take a while too. Okay, well, that's okay. Finding Kentros would prove to be rather easy, but all of the early ones were too high of levels since Kentros take an obnoxious amount of time to tame using berries. Eventually though, I found a level 45, knocked it out, fed it the berries, and spiked it in for safekeeping. With it out and taming for the next few days, I returned to my base to grab my caving gear and headed back towards the spider cave to gather both loot and chitin. And speaking of loot, another green drop just outside got things started nicely with a very powerful Ascendant Pike. As I entered the cave, I was immediately greeted by a pair of Arthros that I would of course mow down using my powerful machine gun, and using my Theory to harvest them gave me a ton of chitin. Also got a lot of chitin really quick. That's what I'm talking about. This is why we brought the Theory. And as I made my way through the cave, I grabbed a few red and yellow drops along the way, but there wasn't really any groundbreaking loot to be found. And eventually I had made it all the way to the mouth of the artifact room, where after clearing out a few bad guys that were blocking my path, I was swinging my way over to the artifact. By the time I was departing the cave the next morning, I was doing so with a load of chitin, some decent loot, and of course the artifact, which I would proudly display atop my platform once I was back home. And then I used that chitin to craft my Argent saddle and made my way back over to the passed out Kentro to pump it full of narcotics, as it was looking like it might not finish taming before waking up. With its torpor once again climbing, I used my new Argent to grab the rest of the metal and charcoal from my forges below, and then took my Yankee out in the Argent's claws to do another metal run with the proper metal gathering combo, until I noticed the Kentro was finished taming, and so I dropped off my Yankee and headed over to retrieve my newest tame, Prickles. And with that, it was time for another spin. Come on, baby, give me something good. Ooh, okay, well that sucks. I mean, a direwolf, not the worst creature if it was like day 5. Of course, I wanted to get this one done, and after searching for some time, I found a level 50 with a baby that should be a very quick and easy tame. Unfortunately, it doesn't always go that way, especially when you choke miserably trying to knock it out, and then a saber-tooth shows up and the wolf takes off running. But eventually, I would chase it down and get it knocked out, and a nearby baby saber-tooth would act as the source for prime meat. That would turn out to be the easy part though, as the area was crawling with bad guys, and for some reason, they had no desire to chase me away from my downed wolf. Nothing cares that I exist. It's like my childhood. Eventually, I was able to sneak in to quickly feed it. The wolf tamed up almost instantly, and we made a break for it. Once home, I named the wolf Little Pup. And with Little Pup resting at base, it was time for the next spin. Get back on track, please. We've had a few lousy ones in a row. Can we get back on track? Oh my gosh, that was so close to, I mean, Authority Dragon, not great, and it's a long journey. So with my next tame being a bit of a trip, I decided to do a few things around base first, starting with loading my forges with the metal I had just gathered with the Yankee. And then I crafted a library storage for my growing number of blueprints, but also to just clear up some space in my storage. And it was back to grinding out some more gunpowder for another plan I have for my time in the desert. Speaking of the plan, I needed to dump what XP my Draking had already gathered, so I chose my Mammoth, giving it another 15 points in health, which brought it to over 33,000. Before heading out, I crafted some more cryopods and cryoed up every creature I have so far that I plan on taking into the boss fight. And then I used the gunpowder I had been making to craft some more advanced rifle bullets. I also have several primitive quality treasure maps, as well as the dragon horde chest I just got from the drakeling, so I marked those on my map as well to collect them on my journey south. The first treasure chest for some reason really wanted to pretend it was a dragon horde chest, which I wouldn't be upset about at all, but it never appeared and I just dug up the chest. None of the treasure chests gave anything too good, but the actual dragon horde chest did give some pretty crazy stuff.
I don't know what all that is. We're just gonna take it and go because we got to get out of this area. All right, we got a Lamantria saddle, a Bronto saddle. BP is useless. We got tech. What? We got tech. What the heck? A tech chest piece. Okay. Some kibble's great. All right, that's insane. Out of a freaking green one.
While out and about, I also popped over to the redwoods near the green obelisk, but the tree I came here to visit was a little occupied.
Oh, nice. A 130 at that. There's a freaking acro right here. Are you kidding me, dude? He's literally standing right where I, like, literally the tree I was coming for has an acro by it.
So I had to go a little deeper into the woods to find another tree where I could place down a bunch of tree sap taps I've gotten from drops, and then added a bulk storage sap collector on the ground below, which basically just gathers the sap from all the taps in one place that is much easier to access. And with those side missions complete, it was on to the desert to begin searching for my thorny dragon. It took a little while, but the next morning I finally spotted not one, but 3 decent level ones all putzing around together.
140, that's what I'm talking about. There we go. What's the other one? 120, 135. Oh my gosh, they're just all good.
But before I could scoop the best one up, another Mama Tapajara took offense to my existence.
Thank you very much. What the heck? Another freaking Tapajara. So tell me, why does this keep happening?
Once I finally finished off the tappy, I flew back down to search for my thorny dragon, only to find it had been killed by some Ceratos.
Oh, don't tell me they got killed by those Ceratos. Oh my gosh, they absolutely did. You gotta be kidding me. Is this the one right here? Oh, I'll never know. Nice.
So the search continued across the desert for another high level one, and along the way I spotted another Alpha Raptor who I would take out using Tickle my theory, forgetting that I had already leveled it a decent amount. Back on the Thorny Dragon search, I found myself all the way at the southern part of the desert with a heat stroke straight out of hell, but finally I found another one worth taming. So I scooped it up to carry it somewhere safe for taming, but first I had to clear out the area of unwanted pests in the most fun way possible.
Get out there. Get out in the ocean, you bum. Oh my gosh. Look at that guy go. Yeet. Plop. Yeah. Get out of here, you bum. Hey. Get out of here, you bum. Plop. Plop. Oh my gosh, dude, the turkey went flying.
Once everything was clear, I knocked out the dragon from the safety of my Carcanos, and then after waiting around till night due to spoil timers, I smashed some more babies into meat paste and fed the newest tame, and then hopped in Ruru's pouch for the remainder of the night, as the insulation from the pouch can actually help clear up heat stroke. And being this far south meant it wasn't really worth going to the dunes for the second part of my plan, so instead I just sat around waiting for the Thorny to finish taming. But once it did, I realized one small problem.
I didn't bring a spare cryopod. Well, oops. That's unfortunate. It looks like this thing is getting lifted.
Still, I named my newest friend Razor, and then scooped Razor up with my Argent and began flying to the dunes to begin the second part of my plan. But of course, my impatience once again sank in, and I couldn't resist seeing what tame I would be hunting down next.
Ooh, I'll take an aloe. I will take an aloe. Yes. Oh, yes. And I know where there's one that might not be the best level one we could find, but it's a pretty color, and I'm gonna settle for that. And we literally just got a saddle for this like a few days ago, so everything's working out.
So we landed another clutch tame, but first the dunes were calling, and so I got out Eugene, cryoed Razor, and had my Argent follow behind as it was time to hunt down deathworms for experience. I would find one rather quickly, but when the moment for battle came, it just sort of vanished. After a little while, I found another one and gunned it down from the back of Eugene, but it took almost all the advanced rifle bullets I had brought along, and my Argent nearly died in the process.
How's my Argent looking? Oh, and my Argent's almost dead. Okay, that is a bad idea, actually. Terrible idea, actually. Very bad idea. This is not going to work.
So instead, I found some nearby manas to harvest organic polymer off of and departed for the highlands where I had seen that high-level red and black aloe. Along the way, I stopped at the Redwoods Mountains to gather some metal and crystal for making more cryos, but first I had to lure away the 135th acro I've seen during this playthrough, only to have it give me a nice little jump scare.
How did it get back up? How the heck did it get back up the mountain? Oh my gosh.
I tried luring it away again, and this time it was properly stuck at the base of the mountain. So with the threat gone, I gathered some stone I'll need to make a forge, as well as the metal and crystal I originally stopped for. Once in the highlands, I swooped down to another beach bassy for its oil, and then flew up to the lighthouse to set everything up, when I would spot the aloe I had came for while gathering some thatch.
Ooh, there's my aloe right there. Oh, look at it. That is definitely, I don't remember what level it is. I can't see it from here, but it's definitely that one. Red and black, baby.
So I placed down the forge inside the lighthouse and got some metal cooking up, and once I had enough, I used it to craft 2 more cryos, one for the soon-to-be aloe tame and one for Razor. Eventually, I got the aloe to chase me down the cliffside to somewhere safe and began tanking her hits with the crab as I loaded her up with trank darts. But of course, as is tradition, the moment the narcotics began sinking in, she headed straight for the ocean.
You just not run into the freaking ocean, my guy. If you could just not go for a swim. Oh my gosh. How does this happen to me every single time I try to tame something without a trap? What's the worst thing that could happen if you try to tame something without a trap? I don't know. A freaking dinosaur will try to go for a swim in the deepest parts of the ocean.
Thankfully, she returned to land after some convincing, and I sniped her to sleep. Then I headed up the hill to find an ovis for its mutton and returned to feed the aloe. She tamed up, and I named her Darth Talon. Of course, with her being pretty much a shoo-in for the boss fight, I had to check her stats. And then it was time to spin the wheel again, and this one was a real winner. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Come on now. Oh, keep going, keep please. Yes, yes. Oh, baby, that was so close to not being what we wanted, but holy crap, we've landed a Rex. Come on. What makes this even better is we know where there's at least a 140 Rex. On the way home, I decided to divert slightly and go check if the Rex I had seen earlier was still there, but upon first check, I couldn't find it. I thought maybe it got drugged down into the water below, but it was starting to appear like it might have despawned. But thankfully, when I came back up from the waters below, I spotted it.
Oh, wait, there it is. Yes, there it is. Nice.
So I headed home and unloaded everything I collected on my journey, and then got straight to work gathering more flint with my Yankee, this time staying out to gather a good amount, since flint is one thing I've always been lacking on. With it, I began making what spark powder I could, turned it into gunpowder, and made up some more rifle bullets and trank darts. However, I was surprisingly out of narcotics, so I began churning out another batch. Once they finished, I made up another pile of darts, and with enough to down even the strongest of Rex, I headed out to find my friend once again. Thankfully, he was right where I left him, and after many failed attempts to get him trapped, I finally boxed him in with gaze from the back of my Carcanos. All that was left was to load him up with arrows, but as I did, I also noticed yet another acro was getting dangerously close, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to just ignore the threat for the remainder of the tame. Thankfully, it was a much smaller threat than it appeared, and Eugene dealt with it with little to no issue. So after enough time had passed, I took out a baby Rex whose mother had just lost a fight to some guy riding a crab, and fed its prime meat to my soon-to-be Rex. And while waiting on it to tame, I just sort of sat here force feeding my Carcanos meat as it was missing a ton of health, primarily because at this point I've leveled it to over 40,000 health. By the time I was done feeding my crab what meat I had, the Rex was nearly tamed, so I just waited around patiently till it finished, and Sexy Rexy joined the team. And of course, I had to immediately check Sexy Rexy's stats. And with it tamed, it was time for another spin. Alright, 2 absolute clutch ones in a row. Can we get a third in a row? Come on, baby. Oh, I wouldn't mind it if you stopped there. Yes. Thank you very much. Now this, we're just gonna go get an egg, and then we'll hatch it, and once it hatches, that is the tame. It's done. We can move on and go find other stuff while it raises. As I made my way up to the wyvern nest though, I came up with another plan, and so I placed a stone gate at the entrance of a small cave, thinking maybe I could just yoink the egg and then hide out in the cave till they lost aggro. But when I got closer, I noticed neither of the wyverns were terribly high leveled, and I knew I would be able to just take them out with Eugene. So I lured them over with a sleepy dart to the back, and sure enough, Eugene clobbered them both without any issues. With that, I secured the egg, which unfortunately was only a level 75, but with little time to waste, searching every nest on the map simply wasn't an option. Once back home, I crafted a few aircons, then crafted some more, then even more, and then a few more, as I still don't really know how many it takes in ASA. Thankfully, those last few aircons got the job done, and the egg was incubating. While it hatched, I jumped down into the nearby waters to see about taking out an alpha megalodon I had seen around these parts back in the early days of the playthrough. And sure enough, it was still here. It was just a little distracted with trying to get a bowl of turtle soup and paid me no attention. So I went back to my pad, and after repairing my fabricated crossbow, I was just in time to witness the egg hatching.
Hey, there it is. Go ahead and imprint on that, and that I will consider a tame because it is mine now. So I have tamed this ice wyvern. I can spin again.
Which, like I said, meant I could spin again since I now own the wyvern, and fingers were crossed for another winner.
Come on, give us a fourth, baby. Here we go. Oh, well, that's not the same. Luckily, obviously, nearby, super easy to tame. Just, you know, whatever.
Okay, so not exactly a winner, but another easy tame we can just get done and move on from. But first, I still wanted to take out that Megalodon, so to free up its counter for me, I used my Argent to assist in taking out the turtle. Once the turtle was dealt with, the shark was more than willing to fight me, and Eugene once again came in clutch, taking the shark down, which also finally got me to level 80.
Ooh, but I got a level 2, which means I am now level 80 and can unlock the forge. It's slow progress so far.
Back at base, I started cooking every piece of raw meat I had, and while it cooked, I checked to see what I needed for the forge, and I was pleasantly surprised to find I was just barely short on crystal and oil. Once the meat was done, I set up Mercy, my Daedon, next to Eugene and turned on her passive healing to start properly healing him. Then it was up to a spot just above my base where apparently Crystal has been this entire time to harvest what I needed with Pincushion. I also started gathering oil from the few nodes that are scattered throughout the oceanside rocks, and figured I might as well gather any metal nodes as well to give my new forge something to work on. Once back home, I crafted the forge, placed it down, and got it cooking all that metal I just gathered. With that done, it was now time to go knock out this penguin tame as I headed back to the snow mountain with a baby Listro and Claw who would make for some penguin food. Figuring it would be easier and safer to tame some inside the cave I'd planned to hide from the wyverns in, I headed in, but first had to figure out which one was actually an adult.
Okay, 135. Okay, they're both 135s. That's hilarious. All right, well, I guess we're taming a 135 penguin. Oh, that's a baby. Okay, this is the adult.
Once I had that sorted out, I knocked out the parent penguin, and after a few quick feeds, it was tamed, and I named it Empoleon, which meant it was time for another spin.
Something to add to the army. Oh, that's nothing to add to the army. All right, well, whatever. We'll get one.
But before knocking out another tame I really won't use, I wanted to knock out that last chunk of XP I needed to get my Drakeling to its 30,000 maximum, and I figured the easiest place to do it would be in Spino country. But while checking out some Spinos as not to kill off any future tames, I spotted something even better.
Wait, that's alpha boosted. That Spino is alpha boosted. Where's the alpha? Is it a Carno? It is. There's an alpha Carno. Oh my gosh, perfect. I came here to kill Spinos, I'll take an Alpha Carno instead.
And once it went down, the Drakeling XP was maxed out. When I got back home, I added the penguin into the Tree of Uselessness, then I unloaded 30,000 experience into Sexy Rexy, giving him 40 levels, which I used to bring his health to over 30,000 and his melee to around 400. Then I crafted some Trank Arrows for taking down a Megalodon, but before I looked for one, the Ascendant Dragon Horde chest was calling my name.
Come on, baby. All right, here we go. Please. Some really good stuff. This is an Ascendant one. Here we go. Calico, which I don't need. Anki, which I already have. An Archelon BP that's going to take would be absolutely ridiculous to do. Fur, which I don't need. I will take the veggie cakes. I'll say that right here. That's literally enough for my Theory and my Mammoth.
Back on the hunt for the Megalodon, it was into the water on Flipper, and right away I found one worth taming. So I knocked it out quickly enough, and it was back to the land to find the prime meat, but instead a Pego found me. I dealt with it though, and after I did, I found a baby dodo for the prime meat, and after a brief wait, the shark was tamed. I took her back to safer waters below my base and named her Caitlin. And with that, it was time to once again end the day the best possible way.
Come on, baby. Give me something good. Here we go. Ooh, yes, I'll take a Megatherium. Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
So we landed another boss fight worthy tame, and one that I have an amazing saddle for. But before searching for one, I wanted to head back to Spino Country, as I was nearly level 82, which was the level for unlocking the chemistry bench. And after taking out just one Spino and a few Stegos, I had reached the desired level, and the chemistry bench was unlocked. After completing my goal, I stuck around the area a little while longer, taking out any Spinos I found to continue building up experience on my Drake. Then on the way home, I stopped in the snow cave to gather some crystal I needed for making the bench, and upon leaving there, I spotted a red drop in the distance that I couldn't risk disappearing on me. So I dove off my Argent midair and darted through the sky with my wingsuit, only to reach it and find it was down in the mesh. So I headed home and cooked up any meat I had gathered for my pig, then crafted the spark powder I needed for the chem bench. But unfortunately, I was short on pearls for making the electronics. But thankfully, I had spun an angler very early on in the playthrough, and so it was finally time to put it to good use, gathering an absolute booty ton of pearls, to the point where I was leaving the bay with more pearls than I'll ever need. Back home, I used them to craft the electronics I needed, and with them I crafted the chemistry bench, placing it down where the mortar and pestles were previously, and after using Ruru to gather some quick narcoberries, I got some more narcotics crafting, which I would use to craft more trank darts, but really doing all of this to get the chemistry bench was mainly about the gunpowder production I'll need to do later on. And with that done and sorted, I ended the night in the snow to begin my search for a Megatherium, when I would find an Ovis instead, who will make the perfect meal for my new sloth. That is, if I could ever find one worth taming, as it took me nearly halfway through the next day, and flying all the way to the redwoods to even spot my first one.
Finally find one. Search the entire map, finally find one. It's a low level, and it's sitting right next to an acro. I mean, like, oh, could you imagine if that was a high level one? Oh, buddy, I'd be pissed.
And after searching nearly the entire day finding nothing but duds, I finally spotted one worth taming.
Please, ma'am, sir, hair, you two, please. Level 15, are you freaking kidding me, dude? Come on. Oh my gosh, thank you, sir, thank you, thank you. A 135, that will do, that will do. After searching for an entire day, that'll do.
So I went ahead and harvested the mutton, and after a little bit of convincing, I finally got the sloth trapped.
Come on. In you go. In you go. Good enough.
But then it passed out much faster than I was expecting.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. This was the level 15. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Where's the other one?
Thankfully, I was able to relocate the level 135 nearby and got it trapped as well. After the appropriate number of shots, it was knocked out, and I fed it the mutton from the sheep and surrounded it with spikes just to be safe. And being that I was very far away from home, there really wasn't much else for me to do here, so I just sat around watching YouTube shorts until finally the sloth was tamed, and I could swoop in to cryo it up and check its stats.
Average across the board stats on another tame in the 30s on everything. Like, why can't we get one thing that's just got like a ridiculously high health or melee?
Before getting him back out and naming him Papa Sloth. And with Gramps tamed and ready for the boss fight, it was time to spin the wheel again.
Maybe something we can grab along the way. Ooh. Alright, well, we'll be taming that when we get back home. That is so close to it being a frog, which we need to complete our dang skill task, but
disappointed, I returned to base and got Gramps out with the rest of the boss fighters, then hooked him up with that insane 200 armor saddle we've been holding on to. Grabbed some cooked prime fish meat from my fridge, as well as some regular fish meat off of Sapphire, and headed down to the bay to look for an easy to tame ratbird.
125, absolutely not. 130, absolutely not. 100, my gosh, where's all the freaking weak ones? 135, where are all the freaking weak ones? Why are they all so high level?
I would finally find a low level one the next morning, but things didn't exactly go as planned.
Level 20, thank you, finally. Oh my gosh, dude, I probably could have tamed a higher level one by now. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. What a perfect shot, but I killed it.
So I tracked down a level 65 I had seen earlier and put it down with 2 well-placed shots, and then wasted a whole bunch of time just standing around waiting on its torpor to drop low enough so I could feed it narcotics to keep it under, completely forgetting about the medical stand I had crafted earlier. While it tamed, I headed back to base and started crafting up as much spark powder as I could, and then turned that into as much gunpowder as I could possibly make, which came out to a decent batch. And as I sat around admiring my new stockpile of gunpowder, I noticed the dirty ratbird had finished taming as the night was coming to an end.
I don't even care if you die over there, just I'll get you in a minute. Jeez.
So with the dirty seabird tamed, I could start the next day off the best possible way, with another spin.
Oh, if you'd like to stop, did it okay? I mean,
I think we have a good dire bear saddle. They're a bit of glass cannons, but you know what? It'll be better than a lot of other things we could have gotten, right? So we'll take a dire bear. I was just going to leave the bird over here to die, but I decided to be a good person, and lo and behold, yellow raindrop coming down. Nice little reward for my good deed. Once I arrived back at the Ichthy, I named it Ratbird, and then it was time to cash in on my good deed, which only got me some flat gloves, but they were an upgrade from my primitive ones. Back at base, I placed out another pet stand and added Ratbird to the Forest of Disappointment, then made up some more darts for taking down a dire bear, and began heading out to find one when something else dawned on me. I just actually realized this is also a massive win because I can use the bear to get honey, which means now we can actually make some sweet veggie cakes to really get our herbivores performing to their peak performance. Of course, I knew the entrance to the snow cave where I tamed a penguin was also crawling with bears, and sure enough, I found multiple that would make for a worthy tame. So I built a trap across the water and tried luring the one I wanted over, which I actually did manage to trap it. It's just that absolute chaos broke out in the process. Should have to tank him. Oh gosh, multiple got in. Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. Oh, come on. No, 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 no. Wait. This is actually a good opportunity. Oh, it's not because I didn't bring any weapons with me. Okay, my Argent is flying high in the sky. After running for my life, I finally managed to get away long enough to remount my bird, and then began trying to clear out the rest of the bears one at a time, when somehow the level 135 escaped from the trap. Wait, the 135 got out? How did it get out? What the heck? How? But that actually made it a little easier to get rid of his friend that was trapped with him, and after many attempts, I finally lured him back into the trap, but after messing up and accidentally destroying a wall, I had to improvise some to keep him fully trapped. So I knocked the bear out while keeping an eye out for any unaccounted for friends, and then I found a baby Yankee outside for prime meat. But first, I had to fend off another Argent who was trying desperately to steal my bear's meal. I returned to feed the bear, and while it tamed, I went into the actual ice cave to grab some of the easy to access loot drops in the first room. The first few were bust, but the third one had something pretty nice tucked inside. Oh, an even better dire bear saddle. We'll take it. Okay, see? That's why you get the drops. After clearing that room out, I headed home where I found my baby wyvern was now fully grown and in desperate need of a meal. Oh, our wyvern is finished raising, baby. That is good to see. So I took her down to the beach to harvest some meat and named my ice queen, Elsa. While doing this, the bear finished taming, but before retrieving it, there was a red ring drop calling my name, and inside were two massive saddle BPs. Got Acro saddle. Oh, and that's not even that crazy. I mean, it's pretty crazy. 289, 43,000 hide and 22,000 fiber. The fiber and the metal are easy. It would just be the hide. Oh my gosh, that would literally be a game changer. And a Dino saddle. Oh my gosh, I have to get these two things. So with two definite target tames now identified, I hurried back to the bear and named him Baloo. And then it was time to spin the wheel again in hopes of landing one of the two. Acro or Dino Acro or Dino All right, Capro. It's not the croc I wanted. Wasting no time, I hurried over to the nearby swamp and found a pathetic level 10 that I could knock out with one shot from the back of my wyvern. And after harvesting a baby pig for prime meat, the Capro tamed almost instantly, which meant it was time to spin again, now trying to just knock out as many tames as I could until I landed one of those two. Acro or Dino Granted on. Or just get an easy one. I'm not worried about finding a high level one. I've got a wyvern already. Thankfully, I found a level 50 that I could knock out with a single shot. And early on, I would have wanted to find a high level one, but now with the wyvern, it's all about getting it done as quickly as possible. And after feeding it some baby dodo meat, it tamed up, and I had to just follow me home because I was now out of cryopods. But before getting there, I of course had to end the night with another spin. Come on, please. 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 Ooh, I'll actually take that. I will actually take that if you'll stop, please. Yes! It's not one of the two that we wanted, but I will definitely take an Archelon. Holy crap. Eager to get another tank for the fight, I returned home and grabbed some biotoxin, as well as some extraordinary kibble I had gotten out of the Dragon Horde chest, along with Flipper my dolphin, and a handy dandy set of scuba gear. Now I knew I had seen a high level turtle on the way to tame the Carcanos way back when, so I headed back to the same spot, but after searching the whole area, it was nowhere to be found. So I searched and searched until finally I found another one that might be worth taming all the way down at the bottom of the desert. There's sharks with it, but there is a turtle.
130. Oh, is it fighting those sharks? Oh gosh. I mean, is a 130 really what I want to settle for? I don't know. Do I really want to settle for a 130? Like, it's not the best that I could get, surely, right? I've been searching all day though, and I've not seen anything better than that. Ultimately, I decided I would settle for it. I just first had to help it clear out the megalodons. I helped! I helped! I helped! And with them out of the picture, I climbed aboard the turtle's back to start the tame. After that first feed with Kibble, I thought of using Biotoxin the rest of the way, but with Mana swimming nearby, I decided to just finish it with Kibble to get the job done. And when I went to check her stats, I was not disappointed. Oh, baby, baby, baby! 50 health? Oh my god, it's already freaking healthed up, man. I don't even got to do anything. I mean, I'm obviously going to pump it purely health, but... Of course, locking up one boss fighter simply meant I was eager for another, and so it was time to spin again. Okay. I'll take that. So with another tame that will probably be going into the fight, I knew I needed a good one, and after finding a few duds on the island near the redwoods, I spotted an absolute monster. 150, oh baby! I swooped in with my wyvern to scoop her up and take home, only to realize she was actually ready and willing to fight back mid-flight, causing me to have to drop her off in the Redwoods Castle. But this little spot actually made for a great location to knock her out. And now came the tense part. I had to rush home to get the stuff for taming her, to include narcotics, which I had none of. So I had to do a quick berry gathering trip with my mammoth. With those berries, I started pumping out some narcotics, as well as some advanced rifle bullets, and then cryoed up a handful of my boss fighting creatures. And with everything together, I began legging it back to the bison. Thankfully, I made it back in time before the bison woke up and gave it the narcotics to keep it under longer, completely forgetting again that I had a medical stand. So while the bison's torpor went back up, I returned to the desert to try the death worm hunt again, to which I found one basically straight away and took it down with no issue. I would continue doing this into the next day as the bison was taming, and after a nice little 2-for-1 of worms, my Drakeling was now at a full 30,000 experience. So I used its ability on my newly tamed Archelon, pumping every single point into health, which got it to about 32,000. And then it was back to hunting deathworms to continue building up experience until I was basically out of ammo and the heat stroke was getting really bad. So to cure myself of it, I returned to feed the bison more narcotics and then rushed home again, and once there, I restocked on rifle ammo for taking out more worms. And while I was home, I named my Archelon Big Mama. As I waited for the final rounds of ammo to finish, I watched as the bison's taming meter got closer and closer to being finished, risking the XP boost for taming it for a few extra rounds of ammo. Then on the way back to the bison, I figured I was gonna make it in time easily, so I stopped at the volcano to test charcoal gathering with my wyvern, which would in turn end up costing me the XP boost by about 250 meters. I didn't get it. I did not get it. Oh my gosh, I didn't get the XP boost. You have got to be kidding me. Oh, I was this close. I stopped to frickin' check if I could get charcoal, thinking I had so much time, and I literally just cost myself an XP boost. Still, the bison was tamed and had a decent health and melee combo, but more importantly, I could spin the wheel again to continue building my boss army. Oh, I'll take that. I'll take that. Stop, 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 stop. Yes, another tank. It's a turtle. We'll take a turtle. We will actually take a turtle. Figuring I could find a decent one nearby to tame while I continued hunting deathworms, I began searching the island I was on, and after circling around the island to the side I found the bison, I spotted a 135 turtle that I would scoop up and knock out in the same spot as the bison. With it taming, I returned to the desert to continue my worm hunt, finding one immediately as I was landing my wyvern. Oh, there's a worm right there. We literally just rolled up on a worm. There should be one over there if we go over there. And dealing with it shortly after with no issues. After taking a few more, my Drakeling was once again maxed out with 30,000 experience, and this time I chose to dump it all into my Megatherium since it has that beastly saddle. From there, it was back to the hunt, and before the night was over, I had reached level 91, which was still 4 levels short of the required level 95 I need to be just in case I spin a Dinotherium. The worm hunt continued into the next morning until I was again at the 30,000 experience cap on the Drakeling, and conveniently enough, the turtle had just finished taming as well. So I returned to the turtle and decided to use the Drakeling on it, pumping its health to 22,000 to add another tank to our team that will hopefully stretch the battle out long enough so we can do damage with our rifle. And with that, it was time to spin again. Ooh, stop, 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 stop. Yes. Another herbivore tank. Exactly what we need.
Already out of cryos and having to carry my bison, I decided to head home first, but on the way I did stop back in the volcano region to harvest more charcoal, which surprisingly was less effective than I would have thought. Once home, I cooked up all the meat I had gathered and then started making more gunpowder using the charcoal I had just gathered. And then I remembered that I had received multiple dragon horde chests and should probably see whereabouts they are located. Of course, I immediately made my way to the one close to base.
All right, here we go. Moment of truth.
Oh, I thought that was a shotgun at first. I got so excited. And then ended the night by clearing out a horde of creatures to reach a yellow drop, which made up for the dragon horde chest. From there, I decided to begin my search for a stego, and it wasn't long before I found one worth considering, but ultimately decided to keep it in mind and continue searching for something better. While out, I stopped at a red ring drop that had another much needed saddle in it.
Oh, fairy saddle. Nice.
And at this point, the loot gods were calling to me and demanding I go out to get the other 2 dragon horde chests.
I mean, we might end up needing to use our parasaur.
Oh, that's nice. Would have been a lot better earlier on, but I mean.
All right, number 2, here we go. Yes! Yes! We got the shotgun we've been looking for. Oh, you're so sexy. Oh, I love it. Bro, a 442 Ascendant shotgun. Oh my gosh, I've been looking for you, baby.
All smiles from my massive loot find, I headed back to the 135 stego I had seen at the start of the day and scooped it up, taking it home to the beach below my base where I would knock it out using my new Ascendant fabricated crossbow that turns out to actually be better than my rifle. And once the stego passed out just short of the water, I fed it some regular kibble that I had gotten from one of the horde chests. As the stego finished taming, I did a quick berry run with Ruru, this time with the goal of gathering stem berries that I would then force feed to my pig to cause another mudslide, as my crops had completely run out of fertilizer and were barely clinging to life. From there, I returned to the stego and named her Plates. And it was time to spin the wheel once again.
What else can we get? What else can we get? What else can we get?
Another Metrodon. Of course, I immediately began my search to try knocking this tame out as quickly as possible, but for some reason, every single Dimetrodon on the map was a crazy high level.
Please, right here, please. 150, you gotta be kidding me. Why is every one of these things a super high level?
But after searching and searching, I finally found one that I would be able to tame with a single feed.
Level 25, thank you. Oh my gosh, dude, this is ridiculous.
And so I sat waiting for it to feed as its torpor meter was getting dangerously close to waking it up.
Eat, brother, eat! Don't do this. Do not do this. Oh my gosh, thank you.
With the tame secured, it was time to spin again in hopes of ending the night with something better.
What you got for me? What you got for me? What you got for me?
Of course. Of course, an Oviraptor. Thankfully, I've been seeing Oviraptors just below my base this entire playthrough, and sure enough, there was a nice low-level one patrolling the beach who I would airlift up to my base and knock out with a single shot. I fed it a single Rex egg I had picked up in the wild for exactly this moment, and after a short time, it finished taming. So it was time to spin again, crossing my fingers we could get back on track to round out this team.
With the right thing, like a Spino, like a freaking Spino. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Another beast to add.
Eager to find another absolute monster for the boss fighting team, I began packing up everything I needed for the tame, as well as some extra gear and tames for grabbing another artifact while I was out. Before long, I was back in Spino country and almost immediately I spotted a 135 Spino worth taming. But considering how populated with Spinos this area is, I figured it didn't hurt to search the rest of the area first. But after finding nothing better, I quickly trapped her with some gates, loaded enough arrows into her face for the knockout, and then waited patiently for her to fall asleep to feed her some exceptional kibble provided courtesy of the Dragon Horde chest. While she began taming, I made a quick pit stop at the tree I had put the sap taps on, only to find the sap collector didn't seem to be working despite the individual taps doing their job. I most likely messed something up in the setup, but I couldn't be bothered to mess with it right now. Instead, I flew to the nearby wyvern cave, Cryodelsa, and it was into the water on Flipper to safely swim to the back of the cave where the artifact of the strong is located. Early into the next morning, I was retrieving the artifact and gliding back down to the safety of the water to make my escape on Flipper. From there, I brushed back to the Spino, who was getting dangerously close to waking up before its last feed, so I slipped it a few narcotics to be safe, but seconds later, it finished taming. And oh buddy, its stats were something else. Still, she was going into the boss fight, and so I named her Slappy. After that, I noticed a yellow ring drop right next to base that I of course had to grab, and inside was a very nice woolly rhino saddle.
Oh, woolly rhino saddle. Oh my gosh, dude, that would be massive.
And I had to spin the wheel to see if it was a sign I should be getting one on the next spin. Nope, we got a moss chops. Hey, easy enough though, easy enough. So it's not a woolly rhino, but thankfully a moss chops is another creature I've had putzing below my base all playthrough. But when I went to check its tame requirements, it would of course ask for one of the few things I didn't have.
Raw prime fish meat, you son of a gun. Couldn't be cooked, could it? Couldn't be cooked. It has to be raw.
So I went out searching for another one all over the beaches and even into the woods behind the blue obelisk, finding nothing, until a return pass on the beach turned up one tucked between some small cliffs. And thankfully this one wanted something much easier to get.
Tinto berry, thank you. Good man. Wow. So close to being tamed.
I waited around until it was time for its second feed, and well,
once. Raw prime fish meat, you have gotta be kidding me.
So my search continued, and back in Viking Bay I found two more and hopped off my wyvern to check what they wanted to eat.
Okay, well, let's see. What do you want, brother? Sister? Rare mushroom. Okay, I can get you that, and it would be an instant tame. It's level 25. What about you? Giant bee honey. Go F yourself, pal.
After a quick trip back to my fridge, I returned with a rare mushroom, and the moss chops was tame. And I ended the night back at base, where I would craft another artifact stand to proudly display the one I had retrieved on the day prior. And with only 20 days left, I had no time to waste if I wanted to land a few more boss-worthy tames.
Alright, we're getting close to the end, but we still have time to add a few more boss-fighting worthy creatures. Come on, baby. Alright, that is not a boss-fighting worthy creature.
Wanting to knock it out right away, I headed back to the swamp where I would find a level 80 that I decided would have to be good enough. So I scooped it up and took it back to the blue obelisk to knock it out somewhere safer, but also because there was a nearby yellow ring drop. That unfortunately ended up being a bust. With the drop being a disappointment, I returned to feed the Diplo, and then headed out to do another massive metal run, and while doing it, the Diplo finished taming. But it would have to wait, as at this point, I was fully locked in, gathering as much metal as possible, and would stay gathering into the late hours of the night. The metal run continued into the next morning as I cleared out every single rock I could find near my base, when up the cliffside, I spotted something shiny.
Oh my gosh, it's a shiny spectral dodo. I mean, you just have to, right? You can't just not tame it. Look at this dude's literally white. It's a ghost. Well, that would be what spectral means, huh? All right, well. Oh. Oops.
And apparently killing the poor defenseless dodo also unlocked the tech replicator.
I also just unlocked a tech replicator. Like, what? I just killed a freaking dodo bird and it unlocked a tech replicator. That feels a little broken.
But back to the metal mission, I returned home to dump all the metal into the forge to get it cooking up, and before going to retrieve the Diplo, it was time to spin the wheel again.
All right. What can we get now? What can we get now? Come on, baby. Not gonna lie, not exactly excited about the result, but, you know, eventually your luck runs out. Luckily, if we find a moderate level one, it shouldn't take long to tame it.
Thankfully, I knew I could find them very close to base in a nearby clearing, and there were plenty of easy ones to choose from. I brought one back to base for safe taming, put it to sleep with one shot of my bow, and it tamed up with just 2 bug repellents. So just like that, it was time to spin again, and this one was a massive win.
Come on, come on, come on. Oh, yes, yes, yes! Yes! That is what I'm talking about! Oh my gosh, we landed one!
Before heading out though, I wanted to do a little bit of base cleanup, first cryoing all the useless creatures and moving them off to another cliff to get them out of the way, and then I did a little head count to see how our boss fighting army was looking.
So right now we got 19 creatures that are like, yo, I'm okay with taking them into the boss fight. We get one more or we replace it with one of our, you know, crappy ones, but, you know, right now we're pretty much good. We're getting there.
Which reminded me that I never named a few of them. I named the Carby Little Mama, and I named the Bison Hornrietta. After that, I gathered up my ghillie armor I'll need for taming the Dino Suchus, and on the way retrieved my newly tamed Diplo before heading back to the swamp in hopes of finding the high-level croc I had seen ages ago. Of course, I also checked any others I saw and did spot a few semi-decent ones just in case the big beast doesn't turn back up, which after canvassing the area where I had last seen it, I couldn't find it anywhere. So I continued searching into the next day in hopes I would find something better than those level 125s, but ultimately I decided I would just have to settle for one of them, and after some patience, I snuck in the first feed. And after waiting around for some time between the last few feeds, it was finally settling in to open its jaw one last time.
Here we go, here we go. Here we go, baby. Come on. Boom! That scared the crap out of me, I swear. Got it, dude. A 187 Dino Suchus.
Unfortunately, though, it did not get the best of stats.
See, 39 health, 33 melee, not great. A little bit of that food could have gone somewhere else.
Still, it was definitely on the team, and so I named him King Croc, which left really just one last spot that I needed to fill, and so I spun the wheel again.
All right, we've got 19 like acceptable creatures. Maybe we can get a 20th. Maybe we gotta take something. Oh my gosh, please stop, please stop. Okay, very honest. Not terrible, not terrible.
Unfortunately, after searching and searching all around the swamp, I could not find anything worth taming. So I took it as a sign that the berry wasn't meant to join the team and just knocked out the next one I saw without even checking its level.
Oh gosh. Brother, you went down with a single oh, it's a level 5. Oh my gosh.
It of course tamed up in 0 time at all, and with my cryopods full, I had to just carry it home. But on the way, I couldn't resist spinning the wheel again.
Okay, Megaloceros. Alright, well, that's what we're gonna get, I guess, but I'm not gonna do that right away.
Before going after the deer, though, I stopped home and began to cryo all my boss creatures to get them out of the way as well, and crafted a cryo fridge to better store them, splitting them into folders based on if I felt they had been leveled enough or not. But I didn't have enough crystal for all the cryopods I needed, so I headed out to gather some more, and once I got back with it, I finished crafting the pods I needed to finish cryoing my future boss fighters. I then crafted some simple bullets that I would turn into shotgun shells, grabbed my best fur armor, and re-entered the ice cave, this time to get the artifact, but of course to also get some more loot. On the back of Tickle Tickle, I charged through the frozen cave, making short work of any of the queen's simps who dared challenge me. Then before going down to actually face the queen, I switched out my Theory for my Carcanos, and after plummeting down into the frozen waters below, I deployed my Theory and Mammoth, with my plan being for them to fight the queen, while I provided support fire from the back of my Carcanos.
Let's go. Come on, team. Oh, dude, she don't even want to fight. Oh my god, it was so easy. We just mowed her down. Bro, Nunatak does not stand a chance against us.
Now, with her down, it was time to collect all the loot chests she left behind.
All right, let's go. Let's see what we get here. Okay, nothing worth even keeping out of this. In the grand scheme of things, I'm not even going to take this stuff because I'm literally out of space for it. Okay, don't have one yet, but maybe, okay, we'll take these. Not, that's cheap to make. Yeah, we'll take that. Last one, come on, give me something good. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's not that expensive to make.
Once I had it all gathered up, I went deeper into the cave to grab the artifact, and it was time to depart the cave. And as I flew back over the snow tops to head home, I spotted a deer worth taming. So I scooped it up to carry home, where I would hit it with a bola, and one headshot put it to sleep. I fed it some blue kibble, and while waiting on it to tame, crafted another artifact stand to store my latest prize. And once it finished, I named it Bucky. And it was time to spin the wheel again to see if we could possibly get something better.
Here we go. Let's try our luck again. Come on, baby. All right, well, you know what? I think our team is good enough. I think now we just go into straight up boss prepping. We got to get the rest of the artifacts. We got to level our creatures some more. We got to make veggie cakes, make more ammo and everything, make any saddles that we can. I think I'm happy with the team because I just simply don't want to find a monkey right now.
Okay, so with zero interest of spending any time looking for a monkey, I grabbed my scuba gear as well as Flipper and headed for the island behind the swamp, deciding my team would have to be good enough as I still had plenty to get done before I'd be ready to fight Nunatak on day 100. When I arrived, I slipped into my scuba gear and dove down into the water on Flipper to find the artifact that lies at the bottom of the Tuso pit. And sure enough, there were plenty of Tusos.
I don't see any Tusos so far. Oh, there they are. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, there are so many of them over there. I peed a little bit, I'm not even gonna lie. I don't see any over here though. I think the artifact's right there. Screw it, we go. Oh, there is one. Oh, there is one. Oh, there is one. Oh my gosh. How do I pull this off?
I could see the artifact down there, I just wasn't sure if I could get it. And as I plotted, an eel showed up to try ruining my plans, but thankfully it was a weakling and Flipper took it out. But still, the Tusos were a big problem, and I decided my only choice was to try baiting them away, and things got interesting.
Oh no, 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 swim, 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 swim! Oh, that was almost so bad. A freaking eel shows up right when I'm trying to bait away a bunch of Tusos.
Once I was clear of the eels, I circled back and decided I had done enough chickening out, and it was just time to say screw it and go in.
No way do they come. Let's go. Let's get it. Come on. We're going for it. In and out, baby. In and out. Let's go. Get it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's go. Let's go. We got it. We're out. We're out. We're out. Oh gosh. We're out. 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 Okay. Sometimes you gotta shake the nerves and just get in there, baby.
Once I got back home with the artifact, I swapped out Flipper for Tickle Tickle and grabbed some of my more standard caving gear. Then parked my wyvern outside the carnivorous caverns, which are just over the hill from my base, and began heading in on my ferry to retrieve the 2 artifacts inside this cave. Starting with the first one, which required a grapple up through the ceiling to the spot where it was located. And as the day came to a close, I was grabbing my first artifact from this cave. While on my way to the second artifact, I stopped off to gather some obsidian I'll need for making more stands, and eventually I reached a point in the cave where I needed to drop down deeper into the bottom of the cave. Once down here, it was a short trip around the corner and I was grabbing the second artifact. I went back to the hole and grappled my way back up, but somehow I accidentally found my way to the swamp exit instead of the one I came in at. So I had to trek over the mountainside to get back to Elsa, who was still waiting for me at the entrance. And once back at base, I crafted 2 more artifact stands to display 2 of my newest prizes, but unfortunately didn't have enough for the one I got from the Tuso pit. To finish the night, I returned to the ice cave, this time with a goal of gathering some more resources, but first I had to lure a whole army of bears out of the cave and over the cliffside. With them out of the way, I was free to gather a bunch more crystal using pincushion, as well as some more oil. But when I got back to base and tried unloading the crystal, there seemed to be something wrong with my bulk storage.
I don't understand why this is not working. I can't deposit this crystal. Like, it's just not working. I don't know what's going on. It won't let me put this crystal in. I genuinely don't understand it. This mod, I'm sorry, it's broken. Like, I cannot put the crystal in. The whole reason I went and got the crystal is because I couldn't put any more metal in, so I was gonna make more of them. I thought maybe I had reached like the slot cap on the metal, so I was gonna make more of them for more metal, but now I can't even put the crystal in. So it's got to be the mod. I don't know, maybe it's me. I'll take the blame.
Trying to fix the issue, I crafted another one to set up next to the forge, and thankfully I was able to unload all the newly cooked metal into it. But I still couldn't put some of the metal I had lying around base in, even after making a 3rd box. Still, I now had enough metal for making that crazy strong Arslan saddle, just not enough for it and the Dino Suture saddle, let alone to make a bunch of ammo for myself. So I headed right back into the cave I had just left, as I had seen a ton of rich metal rocks just inside the cave, and since you can actually fly in here, I could carry my Anki in with my Argent. I just first had to clear out a small bug infestation.
There is so much metal in this like first little bit of this cave. Like, oh my god, look at all the metal over here. There's just rocks on rocks on rocks.
I stuck around for some time gathering all the metal I could from any spots I deemed safe until I got a very blunt sign that it was time to go.
Oh gosh, it's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. Oh, it's time to get out of here. Yep, that's a sign. That is your sign, Chips. Leave now.
On the way home, I grabbed a green ring drop that had another nice saddle in it.
Oh, nice! A turtle saddle, BB!
And once home, I quickly loaded all the metal into the forge. Still short on oil though for making an industrial cooker, I headed right back out, this time under the waves on Flipper to gather some off the ocean floor. And while out, I also chipped away at a few more obsidian rocks. I used the oil to make the cooker, and then the obsidian of course was for an artifact stand to place the one I had in storage. Next, I used my mammoth to gather a heap of wood, some of which I would then use to craft both a cliff and tree platform, and some went into the forge to begin making more charcoal. And to finish off the day of gathering, I switched to my theory to do some high hide gathering, but this was mostly just to test out how realistic it would be for me to get enough hide for those saddles. As the final stretch of the challenge began on day 90, I grabbed my platforms, swapped my theory for my bear, and grabbed some bug spray, with the plan to go gather some sap and honey. Starting with visiting the tree I had placed the taps on, where I would place the tree platform below the lower level of taps to allow me to easily collect them. And for the two that were further up on the tree, I just hopped off Elsa's head onto the taps. But I realized I should probably wait on the honey gathering, so instead I went home and gathered some stim berries using Ruru. And with them I began making stimulants till I ran out of spark powder, so I made more spark powder and then finished making the stimulants. And with everything else ready, I began using my bear to gather honey from the many hives I've seen on the cliffs below the beaver lakes and stored it on Elsa with some salts to keep it preserved before realizing something.
Oh, that keeps it nice. Okay. I just realized it's a freaking ice wyvern. I don't even know if this does anything. Look, we got 511. Oh, it does actually. Okay.
Continuing my honey gathering the next morning, I used my cliff platform to assist me in reaching a few extra hives, and before long, the first few had respawned as well. I grabbed a few more from other nearby spots until I had a total of 188 honey, which, if my math is correct, should be enough. Back home, I threw as much honey as I could fit into the cooking pot with all of the other ingredients to begin making some massive cakes, and continued doing this batch after batch for the rest of the day, while also getting more wood in the forge to keep making more charcoal. By the day's end, I had 133 veggie cakes stockpiled for my herbivores, and it was time to prepare for my next adventure, starting with cryoing Mr. Scarf and Ratbird. I also grabbed my scuba gear, crafted a torch, grabbed some focal chili, and all my other creatures that still need levels, and headed off to visit the sands of the desert once again. But I wasn't going deathworm hunting just yet. First, I had to complete the Life's Labyrinth to collect my final 4 artifacts. So I set up a storage box outside the entrance to store all my extra tames, as well as the gear I didn't need for the first half of the run, and then just before going in, I remembered I actually needed to be carrying my shoulder pet sacrifice, as they've updated the game to no longer allow cryopods in that room. With that, it was time to start the first puzzle.
All right, here we go. Oh, it's right there. And the A should be like back here in this corner. Back here. Yep. There it is. And then the second K is like right over here. A is right here. And all that's left is to go do the secret room. Happens to be all the way in the back. And right here is the button. That open up and boom. Hopefully we did that quick enough. Yep, it's clicking. I hear it. I hear it clicking. All right, we did it quick enough. Sweet. And there's no going back now.
Next up was the crawling puzzle, but as I began crawling through pushing the buttons, the door behind me just sort of randomly opened. So I restarted it, and after getting my belly dirty, I was making my way through the right side door. The next section should have been a few easy jumps, but I messed up my glide suit and ended up in the waters, where I would have to fend off capros with my pike. And to add insult to injury, when I opened the red drop that was in the room, it was a complete bust. Moving on, I advanced into the next room, where you have to stay crouched and hug the side of the room. Only problem was a small team of bats showed up, which could have became a huge issue should they knock me into the middle. Thankfully, I was able to gun each of them down before they had the chance. And this red drop was much better than the last.
Oh my gosh. That is disgusting.
Next up was a puzzle that I don't really understand how it actually works, but I just push the buttons and eventually the door opens, which brings me to the real fun.
Okay, now is where the true fun begins. Now we're in the labyrinth.
After going through a few doors, I was to what's called the torch room, which meant it was time to start the timed run to get to the final door.
We have enough. I think we have enough focal chili. Let's just go for it. Let's just go for it. We're going for it. Do we have this memorized? Is it still locked inside the brain? We're about to find out. Oh, there's bad stuff here. Oh, there's bad stuff here. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, we're not getting through. Yeah, no. We gotta go back. We gotta go back. We gotta go back. That's an R throat. That's an R throat. Oh, God. Come on, man. Really?
Obviously, having a room full of crap wasn't exactly ideal for completing a timed run, but on the bright side, it did give me time now to go back and retrieve a red drop that was in the room. But while I have the time run memorized, I don't really know how to get back to the start if I screw it up. So I wandered around lost for way longer than I would have liked, until finally I stumbled upon where I had first entered the maze.
Oh, this is the start point. This is the start point. Okay. We made it back to the start point. Holy crap. Completely by accident, but we're here.
From there, it was a short trip back to the torch room. I sucked down another focal chili, and it was time to try again.
Boom. Boom.
Nothing getting in our way this time. This button, come on. Come on, push the button, dude. What are you doing? I'm missing buttons. I'm missing buttons. Oh, this is gonna be tight. Come on, 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 come on. I'm missing the buttons. I'm missing the buttons. Oh, I'm screwing this up. Did not sound good. That's it right there. It just shut. It just shut. Great. Now we have to figure out how to get back to the start again. I literally was just missing the buttons.
Thankfully, this time I was able to find my way back to the torch room fairly quickly to try again. But once again, I was just too slow.
Middle button. All right, come on, come on, come on. We gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so slow.
So I returned for attempt number 4, but again, I was too slow. Attempt number 5 began with a red drop in the starting room that I decided to go back and collect. So back to the torch room I went again for attempt number 6.
Oh, we're making good time. We're making good time. We're making the best time we've made so far. Come on. Come on. Oh, that was smooth. That was a smooth button push, brother. Oh, you're getting it, buddy. You're getting it. This is the one. This is the one. Here we go. Push the button. Come on, baby. Come on. We're going for it. Here we go. Run, brother. Swing. But we did it. Oh, baby. With time to spare.
Finally, through the hardest part of the cave, I dropped down through the ground and reached the first of the 4 artifacts, which brought me next to the sacrifice room.
And there is the pit. Mr. Scarf, you were my very first tame in this playthrough, and I have been waiting so long for this moment, and it's finally here. Get in there! Scarf? Get in there! Yes, Mr. Scarf has burned.
After saying goodbye to my arch nemesis and making my way through a few more easy rooms, I was pushing the final button to get to where the spirits guard 2 of the artifacts. But I was unaware I couldn't use cryopods in this portion either. So I had to fight the spirits on foot, which proved to be much easier than I anticipated, and before long I was claiming the 2nd and 3rd artifact, and sprinting down the glowing green tunnel to reach the exit. Back at the chest, I stored everything I'd just gotten from the first run, grabbed my gear for the other side, as well as Dirty Bird, and after completing the word puzzle again, I was taking the plunge back into the depths. Of course, this time I took the left path after completing the Burning Lady puzzle, and I do apologize, I'm not sure why my game looks so hazy and weird on this side of the cave, but either way, I slipped into my scuba gear and dove down into the waters. Now I could have just blitzed through this area, but there was a drop in the area I wanted to grab. So first, I had to fend off a few megalodons before eventually grabbing the drop and swimming up through the hole in the ceiling to reach the next section, which was a great plan for closing the gap on the hide I needed for the saddles if it wasn't for the vultures who kept showing up to harvest the dead bodies. Still, I did at least get my Drakeling back to 30,000 experience, which I used on King Croc.
Nice. He's already been leveled some. Get him to like 25k health and we'll go rest melee. His stats are not amazing. They really just aren't.
Continuing, I started killing another one when its buddy would show up for some fun.
Oh, there's another one. Oh god, we gotta finish the first one first. There's one. Oh my gosh, they're trying to do me rotten.
But the 2 of them combined did give a massive amount of hide.
Yes. 1,500 hide, baby. There's another one over there.
And before long, I was nearly out of shotgun shells, so I headed home, and luckily the Dragon Horde chest was right next to my base.
An Ascendant Stego saddle! You'll love to see it! You'll love to see it, baby!
Once back at base, I threw the new saddle on the Stego, and just for fun, I swapped out Bucky for evil Dr. Porkchop on the boss fighting team. I then moved all the charcoal and metal out of the forge and into storage, and began checking what saddles I had in storage, and crafting any improved ones that I could. But I needed some wood for a trike saddle, and while out, I went after a yellow ring drop, which turned into absolute chaos, but would end up being very worth it.
Oh my gosh! Great. Thanks, brother. Yeah, no, get involved. Well, that went exactly as I wanted it to. Oh, we got an Archelon saddle, though. It was all worth it, baby. What is that? Aurania. Oh my gosh, so worth it. I'll take it, baby. I'll take the chaos for that. This is huge. I mean, the one at base is better than this, but I don't think I was going to be able to make both the Archelon and the Dino Sutra saddle. Now I can just focus on making the Croc saddle, They both got to send in saddles. Oh, baby, that is so massive.
Back home, I crafted the trike saddle and slapped it on Billy, as well as the Arslan saddle on Big Mama, and then took a final inventory of the saddles I needed. But before going after more hide, I needed to gather more stone by hand, since I was never lucky enough to spin a Doit. Did a flint run with pincushion, and began making as much spark powder as possible, which almost turned out to the exact same amount as the charcoal I already had. I combined them to start making more gunpowder, and after a small stack had finished, I started making more simple bullets, which I then turned into a stack of shotgun shells. I then queued up even more simple bullets, and as they began crafting, I ran out to do another wood run with Husky Tusky. When I returned to base with it, I first queued up some more shotgun shells before throwing all the wood into the forge to continue making more charcoal. And it was back to the desert to continue death worm hunting, this time from the back of my craft. But for mobility's sake, I decided to switch to the kangaroo, and just as I did, another worm jumped me. Before long, I was distributing another 30,000 experience, this time to Plates my stego. And I stayed farming death worms for the rest of the day until I had another 30,000 experience and spent it on Slappy the Spino. Worm hunting and hide farming continued into the next day until I realized I had a whole bunch of points to put in my Theory's delicate harvesting. Eventually, I had another 30,000 experience that I used to pump up my glass cannon, Baloo the Bear. Then, while switching between creatures to harvest another worm, the desert decided to fight back.
Shit. Oh my gosh. Bro, look at my health. Oh my gosh, I was dead. Those dudes jumped the crap out of me.
With my health slowly draining from the heat, I had no choice but to dip out to the coastline to avoid overheating to death. And after nearly dying, I decided the creature leveling had gone on long enough and instead headed to get the first Dragon Horde chest. I then retrieved the second one from the desert and finally the third one, which was in a very bad spot, leaving me with no choice but to open it midair.
Oh, I'll take the veggie cakes. Thank you very much. Everything else is just useless. I mean, these would have been great a long time ago.
With them all collected, I returned home to deposit all the hide.
Oh, I'm so close, actually. Hold on. 28,000. I'm actually so close. Oh, I have enough. I have enough by 400.
The next morning, I began gathering an appalling amount of fiber that I'll never actually need, and with it, I was able to craft the absolutely crazy Dino Suture saddle that I would of course slap on King Croc's back. Next, I started making the remaining primitive saddles, but after the Rex saddle, I was already out of hide. So it was back out with my Theory to begin gathering what I needed, and before long, I had enough to then make the saddles for my Spino, Yudi, Bison, and Daedon. I then gave what experience my Drakeling still had to the Daedon to level it up more in health, keeping it alive so it can keep us alive. I also got the rest of my boss creatures back out to add any levels they had into health, and it was back out to hand gather some more stone to begin making more spark powder. As it cooked, I grabbed a compound bow I'd gotten from a drop and also realized I had a huge stockpile of metal arrows and could also make another roughly 370. Once the spark powder finished, I turned it into gunpowder, and once 1,000 had finished, I started turning out as many shotgun shells as I could from a large amount of simple bullets I had made earlier, and ended the night grabbing all the consumables I wanted to take in and loading up my Argent with everything I had prepped. And as the day turned over, it was now officially day 100, but I still had a little bit more ammo I wanted to make. While at crafted, I actually remembered to grab the artifacts for maybe the first time ever, fixed up my flak armor, and then made some red dye, grabbed my scissors out of storage, and finally got my hair looking right. As I finished cutting my hair, the rifle ammo finished crafting, and after one last check to make sure I had everything, it was time to go. Once at the obelisk, I unloaded the artifacts, set my Yudi to auto roar, ignore group whistles, and passive, with the intent being just to have it follow the mammoth and buff us. I did the same for the Daedon, and then I loaded all my herbivores with sweet veggie cakes, giving most of them 20 cakes each, with the exception of the Theomia and my kangaroo. I loaded all the kibble, jerky, and meat I had onto the Daedon and turned on its healing, and it was time to start the boss fight.
All right, here we go. Everybody good? Everybody's good? I think everybody's here. Can't really tell. All right, everybody head out. The Arslan is going to take a while to get there. It's okay. It is what it is. Everybody get out there. We'll see you when we see you, Arslan. We'll see you when we see you. It's going to take it a minute. They don't even need my help. They don't even need my help. I'm going to focus on Nunatak. Come on, summon your worms, buddy. Summon your worms. All right, the worms are out. The worms are out. Worms are coming back out. So once we take out these worms, he should come down. There's a worm down. Another worm down. Another worm. Okay, now he should come down. Everybody attack. Everybody attack. Come on, guys. Get in there. Spino is already looking bad, dude. The Spino's already almost dead. Nobody's died yet. Nobody has died yet. Nobody has died yet. Not even the pig. Oh, there goes the Spino is the first to bite the dust. That's actually crazy. Not expecting that. Not expecting that at all. Just keep laying shots down. Something just hit for 1,700 damage. What's hitting for 1,700? I don't know what everybody else is looking like, but some of my stuff is looking decent. All right, he's landing. Get him, guys. Get him. Oh, they're on top of. He's on top of them. Yudi's down. Oh, that's not good. The Yudi's down. There goes our Yudi roar. We've only lost 2 creatures so far. If we start losing herbivores, it's bad news bears. Aloe down. Another carnivore, though. Rex is down. Again, another carnivore. The only problem is he's spreading the love. Oh, the Daedon is still alive. All right, Carno just died. That's another carnivore, though. We're not, like I said, not worried about the carnivores going down. It's the herbivores. All right, the pig's down. Eugene. Oh, Eugene is down. Oh, that's bad, dude. I thought for sure that Carcanos was going to stay alive for a long time. Oh, the turtle's looking rough. Bro, this is actually kind of closer than I want it to be. Come on. Come on. We can take this guy out. We can take this guy out. Let's go. All right. Last time it's going up in the air. What is this trike doing over here? Here he goes. He's coming after me. Forgot, sir. I am on a Forgotodon. There goes Hornrietta. No, Hornrietta, not the bison. Another primitive saddle. Finish it off with a bow. Come on, baby. Go down. Go down. Blue, the dire bear. Wow, the dire bear. Oh, it did have that dire bear lasted a long time with its beautiful saddle that it had. Come on. Come on. I don't know what Billy is doing. Billy's doing nothing. Look at Billy. Billy, you've just been kind of making that same pose this entire time. Dude, we got it. We got it easy. We got it easy. It's going down right here. Ready? Last shot right here. Last shot right here. Boom! Oh, little mama. Little mama died right at the moment it was going down. Oh, poor little mama. Oh, poor little mama. Poor little mama. Billy, what are you doing, brother?
So there you have it, we took down Nunatak with a ragtag team of creatures that was decided for us by a spin wheel. I actually had a ton of fun doing this challenge, finding out what the wheel would give us next with each spin, and having to decide which creatures were worth finding good levels, and which ones I needed to just tame right away to get out of the way so I could spin again. In the end, my Procoptodon, Trike, Anki, Stego, Megatherium, Mammoth, Archelon, Dinosuchus, Daedon, and the Theory survived the fight, and honestly, between all the health we dumped into them, the saddles we found, and the veggie cakes for the herbivores, most of them barely even took any damage. But anyways, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, please hit that like button before you leave. Drop me a comment down below on what creature you thought was this video's MVP. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video. With all of that said, I want to tell you all thank you so much for being here today checking out the video. And until next time, keep it crispy.